Yeah, thank you, Steve. Yeah. Hi, guys. Sorry.
You going?
Okay. Hi, guys. I'm a little bit, frustrated for some issues. My personal issues, and so today I'm at 5.5.
Okay, Jorge, would you like to check in?
Sure. All right, let me finish this. 5.5. Yes, I'm ready to start. I'm ready to start this session, and I'm feeling like a 6. Check.
Okay, Jay, would you like to check in today?
Yeah. Just really quickly, I don't see the link to the template notes, which is odd. So to figure that out. All right. So I'm doing all right. Probably like a 5.5, maybe 5.75. I've had some lunch. And generally things are going the right direction, which is good. So yeah, and I'm here. Check.
Okay, Miguel, would you like to check in?
Ready to go. No number. Check.
No number, huh? Okay. I am ready to go. It's going to be a long day between this session and the full moon later. Got a little sinus headache going here, but I'm still about a 6.5.
So, just so guys, people know, in our number system 0 to 9, we do have a model for not like purposely not participating, and that would be a 0. So a 0 doesn't count as a 0; it counts as a no vote. So when you put a 0, it doesn't count in the averages, and we exclude it. So technically speaking, Miguel would be a 0.
Changing.
What? Well, no, it's perfectly fine to be a 0. I'm just saying like that in the notes that we should note down that Miguel is a 0, which is perfectly fine.
0 is, I don't want to tell how.
Right, that's what 0 means.
That's
you don't
exactly
want to vote.
what 0 means. So 0 means it's not an abstention. It's literally a non-vote. It's a purposeful not giving an answer. That's what 0 is. Okay.
No, sorry. Come again.
Nothing. It's not okay. 0 means that you just didn't want to give an answer. It's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It just means that you don't want to give an answer. That's all.
Yeah.
It's neither good or bad. It just means no answer.
Yeah.
That's which one you said. No number. That's what 0 means. No number.
Yeah. But that's just, we give that, like in our 0 to 9 system, 0 means exactly that. So when we're quantifying everything and recording it, that's what we put. We put a 0. Okay. Steve, were you done with your check-in? Sorry.
Yes, I am. I was going to ask you if you'd like to take the desired outcomes.
Yeah, but I also want to make sure we get the link to the template notes doc.
I can go to the last week's doc and get that while you're doing that.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. So I do want to make sure we're going through everything in our agenda because we missed some stuff, especially these after the check-in part we are really bad at. So yeah, let's do the check-in. So, oh no, we did check-in. Oh, we're doing desired outcomes now. Okay, so technically speaking, we're supposed to do evaluation before the desired outcomes. Do you guys want to do that, or do you want to put it in our setup, or?
Yeah, and then let's put it in the setup. If we're supposed to do it, let's put it in the setup so that we know it's supposed to get done.
Well, no, it's already in our meeting setup. We could put it in our team setup if we want to do like, you know, an actual training on it, or we could just do it right now. But the idea is that we have 5 minutes of silence. We do our evaluation. We think about the last couple of days or the week. And then when we get to our desired outcomes, we actually have a little thought into it as opposed to just.
Okay, so let's do it. Let's do the 5 minutes, I think.
Yeah, you guys want to do evaluations? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Okay, and we do have a format for the evaluations, and I can go ahead and make a spreadsheet for that.
Okay. And I will, like I said, I am on getting the template. So
great. So, and people can start thinking about their evaluations. And basically, you're just doing a feedback. We primarily want self-evaluations, the most important thing. Evaluations are not required, but they are indeed recommended, and you get value out of doing evaluations. So I can go through the whole policy.
Evaluation means that on what tasks or responsibilities we are at, or at what stage we are. Does that evaluation means?
Do you mean work evaluation or evaluation of how you've been working? What do you mean by evaluation? Is what he's asking.
Well, you can. I mean, all the evaluations I do are based on the work that you do, right? I mean, we're evaluating ourselves based on our work, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. But in terms of the actual, like, maybe we should spend this 5 minutes kind of going over evaluation system, and then in future meetings we can actually do it more. You know, that's
okay.
Cool. So,
this meeting usually doesn't get things like it. We're the last ones in the Andromeda team. When new things like doing evaluation and stuff come up, we're usually the last ones to get around to it.
Yeah.
Of course, we just don't do it.
Exactly.
It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. It just is.
Well, that's why we're putting it into our meetings, and actually supposed to go into the beginning and end of every session. Frequency. And then also, you know, we would then go from that to actually, you know, updating it and keeping it all organized. So this would be our first Andromeda evaluation spreadsheet. And it's not supposed to be capped, but it happens. So basically, the frequency would either be like sessions, so you can do real-time session value evaluation. So you can evaluate as many times as you want to during the session. You would just write the frequency as session, right? Then you would have your daily evaluation, your twice per week, weekly, twice per month, and monthly, and I believe quarterly. So quarterly is the minimum. Everybody is required to do a quarterly evaluation. And then you can also use this time to think about our priorities and all that, which I'm going to go over in more detail. I've already gone over it for Sonic as well as Cobalt, and we're going to go over our prioritization process in detail here too. But anyway, so you can put the selling date. Today happens to be the
382.
Yes, which is Thursday, March 1st, 2018, although that should be in like a normal date format. So it's technically 3/1/2018, I believe, right? Who is being evaluated? I'm going to evaluate myself, and I'm going to give myself a 5. And I'm going to feedback and summary. You know, still overworking myself and need to get to highest level priorities better. All right, so there's a self-evaluation. Link to eval doc, none/not applicable. So if you're doing a report or any sort of like reporting evaluation, you actually have a doc that you write a whole paragraph, you wrote something, or link something, you would link it here. And then who did the evaluation? I did a self-evaluation, so that would be the self-evaluation I did for myself. So when you're evaluating, the person who does the evaluation gets value credits.
Jay, you are not sharing the screen.
Oh.
Yes.
Jorge,
Yes, he is.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
I'll have to try restarting it. Either way, let me link this to our and let me share it. I didn't link it, and then you'll be able to see it either way. So I think that's pretty much it. Are there any questions on the evaluation process? So you can use a doc, you can use anything to evaluate, and then you just link it to the spreadsheet so that it's all in the same format with everybody.
All right, in this case, can we evaluate anybody or just like
self-evaluation?
No, you can evaluate anybody. When you evaluate someone, they get value, and you get value. The more evaluations you do, the more tokens and credit and value evaluation credits you get. No matter how bad of evaluation you give someone, they still get value. right? So basically, let's say you give someone a 1 or less than a 1, and you say they did really bad. The most important thing is not the score, it's the feedback. So to help educate people and help people learn. So again, the most important thing is the feedback. That's why we're doing this. And the score is just to quantify it and give value. So if you give someone a 1, they're still going to get like, $1, $5, or whatever the valuation of that token is of value for them, even though you gave them a bad score. So the more bad scores you give someone, the more value they get in the network and the more equity and money they actually, or in funds they actually accumulate. So the more evaluation you do, the more you give. In addition to that, whoever does the evaluation also gets value as well. So you're accumulating value for yourself in the network and in the evaluation credit. So hopefully that makes sense. So it's a win-win. The idea it's a win-win. I personally give really bad evaluations because my criteria for evaluation is, a high-level global organizer, and very few of us, if none of us, are really at that level yet. And the idea is that if we're getting 7s and 8s, it's because we are actually assisting the world and transforming the world and making the world a better place. But it's like we're not good at that. And also, just to answer Jorge's question, you can evaluate yourself. You can evaluate any other coworker. You can evaluate any buddy team, any group, any organization, anything, right? So you don't. It doesn't have to just be limited to individual people. It can be buddy teams. It can be the Andromeda team itself. It could be the core team, the steering team, the co-chairs, anything. Okay. Check. Any other questions?
It's pretty clear.
Cool. So I don't know if we want to actually spend some time right now, but at least we went over the evaluation for next time. And then we can just continue to do more and more evaluations. And we're going to be doing evaluations at the beginning and the end, and you can evaluate anytime during as well. Okay?
Okay. Time for this topic.
Yeah, we're at time. So I would say we move on.
Yep, I agree.
And but next time we'll be ready to actually do 5 minutes of silence and then actually do the evaluations and hopefully, and every single buddy team is also supposed to be doing evaluations at the beginning and end of the buddy team. All right. And again, it's no one's required to do evaluations except for quarterly. Everybody's required to do a quarterly self-evaluation. That's the policy. Check. All right.
I put the template notes at the top, not where you said. Is that fine? You want me to put it where you said?
Just goes on the important docs.
I put them at the top of the list.
Yeah, it just goes in the important docs.
It's there at the top of the list. All right.
Awesome. All right. So desired outcomes and topic review, and then we do the schedule.
Desired outcomes. Okay. Moving on.
Am I doing the desired outcomes?
I asked you if you would. If you don't want to, I will.
I got distracted on the evaluation. So the desired outcome is getting more organized as a team.
Wait, we have a whole. This is. I'm mixing up 2 meetings. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about the doc that we just did for the quarter moon, and I'm saying, hey, we have a whole list of desired outcomes. Where did they go?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Oh no, it makes perfect sense. It happens all the time. And as we get more organized, we're going to be doing that more and more and more because all of our meetings are going to be organized and are going to be overlapping and leapfrogging each other. So it's going to be a whole bunch of that.
I'm like, I did so much work on this.
All right. So my primary desired outcome is I really want to, educate and explain the updated prioritization process. I'm very happy, excited about that. We did it for Sonic. We also did it for Cobalt. Everyone loves it, so we should do it here.
Yeah, I saw it. I think that's it. My desired outcome is the Andromeda level buddy teams on level 4 Octane schedule for us to get our schedules done. So scheduling and so we know who's well. Basically, so I think part of our goals are goals. We know who's working what shifts when. Our shift says he wants to work Andromeda with us. So who's working, doing what, and what are we getting accomplished? Because that would give us 4 people. We can get 2 teams accomplished.
Number 4.
So schedule and the other thing is the Andromeda, set up the Andromeda, just to set it up, the Andromeda senior octane manager list schedule. That's my desired outcomes. The schedule and the senior octane schedule.
Right.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I just wanted to know how to get replies on different channels like Upwork and Outsourcely. It will take, I think, 5 minutes, not more than that. So I'll be good to go for.
How to check the responses?
Yeah, how to check the responses and to reply them.
All right. Do we have recruitment on our list of topics today?
Well, I added it.
Yeah, it is.
If not, we can certainly put recruitment in, on our list of topics because that's part of recruitment. So if somebody wants to put recruitment, there we go. Probably focus 5 to 10 minutes. There we go. Anybody else? Miguel? Desired outcomes?
No.
Yeah.
We went through billing already, and I'm sorry, invoicing. We already are working on invoicing. I don't know if we have to.
Very important.
Well, we need 5 minutes because of what we saw in the proposals for the quarter more seconds. So I need 5 minutes in invoicing and billing. Yeah. Midweek check-in. We can spend 5 minutes. Okay.
I don't know if it is worth to include as a whole priority focus topic, but people who's adding more information after hours. I mean, after we did the final verification for payroll.
All right. So
that needs to be continually done.
So that would be
I've got payroll.
Payroll. Actually, yeah, I just also want to discuss that there's some pending amount from my side.
And that's
with Albina role. Yeah, okay. Good.
So if you want to put payroll down as a topic, somebody can add payroll as a topic. I know what Jorge wants to talk about, and because I've already said the same thing to Jay in a Skype message. But we can put it down as a topic, payroll, certainly. Payroll preparations or payroll, whatever, whichever you want to write it.
Yeah, and actually the payroll preparation as well, because I know we did it better last week, but there's still things to be improved on.
Yes,
so.
but it's a quickie. We can put that in. There's some payroll preparation, and we'll certainly get to it. Anybody else? Jay, anything else to add? Did we lose Jay? He's been very silent.
Amir, there's one other thing on evaluations that I forgot. Maybe we'll get to it. But yeah, this looks good. But again, my main thing is the updating the prioritization process, and this will change how we prioritize and update our agenda, so that our agenda may change depending on how we want to move forward. Okay?
Okay. So, since that's a big priority, okay, do we have agreement on our desired outcomes and topics? Are there any objections?
No objections.
Any questions? Any concerns? Okay, so our desired outcomes and topics are approved, Jay. That's the first, or let's see, let me get back to the doc. I'm on my screen, not on the doc. Where are we? There we are. So getting educators plan an update project. So that is the first thing in our desired outcomes. It's also the first thing in our priority focus. So Jay, would you like to go through the updated prioritization process with us?
Yeah, so just to make sure we understand, the only thing that we're skipping right now, well, actually we're skipping two things, right? One, we're skipping the schedule. So after we do the desired outcomes and topics, we very, very typically skip the schedule for the session, right? So this is the last part of the setup. The reason why we do the schedule for the session after the topic review is because when we know our topics, we have a better idea of how long and what we need to talk about. And then we have a better idea of how we want to organize the rest of the session and how long it's going to take, et cetera, et cetera. So our breaks, you know, when we're going to stop, all that is a good thing to check in on before we go into our topics.
Okay.
Yeah.
That being said, we're at just about 30 minutes past the hour. So technically we should be taking a break at this time for like 1 minute.
Well, this is our 30-second stretch break. Is our bottom of the
30-second stretch, okay.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, I'm stretched out in a recliner. I don't have to do that. You like that one, huh? You like that one.
Well, I'm doing my stretching. If anyone else wants to do their stretching. Yeah. Okay.
You know.
All right. Anyways, so the top of the hour, we.
Hey, Jenny, I know where you work from half the time. Sitting with your back against the headboard with your legs stretched out. Yeah, so we're about even on that one.
Yeah. Well, right now I happen to be at the desk, but you know it does change around. So
okay.
Anyway, so the top of the hour, whoever's doing timekeeping is when we do like our actual like 3 to 5 minute break to get water, go to the bathroom. You know what people need to deal with. And then, I mean, right now the plan would be to doing wrap up. You know, wrap up is supposed to start at 3:30. Yeah, 3:30 or 3:40, right?
Yeah.
So in about an hour, but we're not really good at that. But you know, that's hopefully eventually one day we'll get better at our wrap up.
I think the problem is that we have more than 2 hours worth of topics, so it's hard to wrap up in a half an hour and losing half an hour. That would basically give us an hour to discuss all our topics.
Well, we could say that we're going to end at 4:30, and that we're going to start our wrap up at 4.
We could try that. I mean, we all have another meeting to go to, but there is some time between them. So, you know.
Well, we have Cobalt, right? Cobalt's going to be shortened, if not canceled. I don't know. We need to.
The policy is that any meeting scheduled, any session scheduled within the hour before a moon session or a main, a global session is canceled. That is the policy. You can't change the policy for Jello and Cobalt. You made those policies. You know that if there's that the hour before a global session, there are no scheduled sessions.
All right, so we know that the full moon is at 6 p.m., right?
Right.
So if Cobalt starts at 5 p.m., that's not going to work.
Right. Exactly.
All right. So Cobalt
there's no Cobalt.
Canceled. But we could invite. I think we could invite Cobalt workers to
the corner moon.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, why don't we? Why don't somebody go to the Jello and the Cobalt types and invite them? There will be a global session starting 1 hour later than their normal session, and they're more than welcome to join us at 3 p.m. Alaska. What is it? 3 p.m. Alaska then?
Yeah.
So at 3 p.m. Alaska.
Yeah. So technically, that means that if depending on whether or not people got breaks before this, that we could go a full extra hour, because then we're going to have an hour break from 5 to 6. So we could end at 5 instead of 4:30.
Let's see how we're going, and we'll take it. How about we take that? Yeah. You know, if we're having a good meeting and we're going, let's take it as it comes, Jay.
Last week it took us 1.5 hours.
Cool. So the task is to do notifications that Cobalt is starting.
I'm already on it.
1 hour late.
I am already on it.
All right. So
since I know I'm on the Jello Skype and the Cobalt Skype, I can do it.
Okay, thanks. And then I'll do the local SFA.
Okay.
All right. So it sounds like we have a schedule plan. The schedule for the session is very important. We typically miss that over and over and over again. And it's because we get too excited about our topics. We jump into the topics without having our schedule set up. But the schedule really helps us be organized. All right. Okay. So now.
Say again, Asif. And it manages the time as well, scheduling and all that.
Well, yeah, it's how we manage the time, exactly. All right, so the next thing that we skipped, or that we could potentially skip, is the group team setup itself, right? So this is the setup verification, but the setup verification is implied within the new updated prioritization process, so it's okay to skip it for now.
It's 3 p.m. Alaska time, correct? Okay.
Yeah, so it'd be 3 p.m. Alaska time. That sounds correct. Yeah. So it'd be 1 hour later. Yeah.
Right.
All right. So are we ready to go?
For the first topic,
do you guys want to do? So the question is, do you guys want to do the verification? So this would be the team setup verification, or do you want to skip it?
Well, we haven't done it properly. If we keep skipping it, we would not know how to do it. I don't know if it is a good chance to do it right now, or if we want to prioritize that in another session.
Either way is fine. I mean, it'll be included in the updated prioritization process, but we can do it now if someone wants to just go for it and just do it real quick. It only takes 5 minutes.
For it.
You know, we don't need to go through the whole thing. We just quickly check where we are as a team and see how much green we have, right? The more green, the better.
Well, then I guess we can go for it.
So do you want to do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the team setup responsibility verification spreadsheet. I'll link it here. And then I'll also copy all of this below. So, Jorge, do you see that? Are you going to do our team setup verification?
Yes. Andromeda. 5 minutes on this topic, okay.
I'm all ready. We got 4 minutes left for this topic.
That's why we already talked about extending the meeting a little, so if we go a little over, that's okay.
So, Jorge, are you doing it or what?
I don't know how to do it.
Just start reading it off.
Does anyone else know how to do it?
I'm marking the link.
I've done it before, yes.
I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, basically, you don't need to go through each one individually for the tasks because, you know, all we have to do is just very quickly review the priorities and then move on, you know, because most of them are completed. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I'll take you to how we are on team budget. Might possible we should go for 65%. Nice.
Where are we?
On team budget.
Team budget.
So we're skipping the task?
I don't know. It has to be started for teams. Okay.
The 16 Andromeda team setup responsibility verification spreadsheet. We are on that.
Yes.
So open up the spreadsheet.
The super team doc, it's a yes. Add main docs for each team member and main body teams. That's a no. We don't have. I think we need to update that, or are we over somebody else?
Wait, what do we have to update?
We need to update the main docs of our team.
That's the three of us. Our main docs are on there. Sid's main doc is on there too, and I'm sure Jay's main doc is on the Andromeda. So I would say that's done.
So can you verify it though? Is it verified?
I will go and verify this.
Okay.
Good. You want to verify it? All right.
If our main docs are on the Andromeda main station?
Yep.
Yes.
Meanwhile, you can keep going.
Okay, we are on.
Okay.
We are here to know. The next one will be main
I don't see the
section
main docs
doc.
on the Andromeda.
You already got it? Come again, please, George.
I don't see the main documents on the Andromeda main station.
Okay, I'm going to look. Hold on.
It's a no then. The main session doc, we got it over there. The master's docs, I'll make sure that I'll link it to the list master doc. I think I did it the last time. Please, Jay, check it out.
Me?
Why should Jay check it out?
Oh, well, I don't know. If somebody can check it out, please.
So we all, so you made sure all the master docs were linked to the list of master docs sheet.
Yes,
So
yes.
this should be pretty easy to look at. We would just go to our notes and go up to the top. We have the list of master docs for all teams. And then we would go to the Andromeda team.
It's already open on the top of our doc, and it says master task list, master topic list, master responsibility list, decisions doc, main budget.
So I guess what would be missing is our priorities list and responsibility decisions main budget. I don't know what main budget means.
I don't know what main budget is. I'm going to look at it right now.
Yeah, it might just be our
It's the Andromeda budget doc.
budget. Yeah,
It's the Andromeda budget doc.
Yeah.
The name just needs to be changed.
Cool.
So
It's the
we are
Andromeda team budget doc.
80% on that?
Well, there's no percentage. It's either done or it's not done. It's just a task.
Oh, okay. So it's a no then.
Yeah, it's no.
The decision docs, we got a yes. The master priority list is a yes. The master responsibility list is a yes. Master topic list is a yes. Master task list is a yes. List of positions of team members on super team doc.
No.
That's a no. And updating voting from current proposal as needed.
Yeah, well, Jay, I meant to ask you, do I need to make decisions voting doc for the stuff that's in the...
Yeah. I mean, our policy is that once we get organized and we do our public launch, our policy is that every single decision that's made in a real-time session is also sent asynchronously to the entire network.
Okay.
That's
well,
you complete the time for this topic also.
Okay, so let's go through a couple of the responsibilities and then we'll be done. Let's do the top 5 or so.
Okay. So that's it. We just check the tasks and said something is done or not done, and that's it.
Right. And how much it's done.
Well, for the responsibilities, it's the percentage, whereas tasks are just yes or no because it's either done or it's not done, right?
For example, here, team budget. It's I think it's 100% right now, right?
Well, I mean, they can look at it, but I think it's done. It's basically, I mean, we don't know what the money's going to look like, so it's kind of hard to do the budget 100% because we don't know what the money's going to look like.
So 90% then?
But the currently our budget priority is for getting our budget ready for next month, right?
Well, we did that.
We already did.
We already did it.
Who did it? Who?
The Andromeda team. That would be me, Harley, and Miguel.
When?
Yes, yesterday, 2 days ago.
And you guys did your buddy team or you did the Andromeda team?
Well, we did the Andromeda team, but it's basically the same thing.
Because it's 3 of us.
It's just the 3 of us. So it's basically, but it has the. We don't know what the changes.
Anyways, I think we need to go through the budget. I think we need to go through the budget today, and I would say it's either 50% or less than 50% done. I mean, it's good that you guys did some work on it, but there's a lot of other things I think we need to get updated on in terms of the budget.
Okay, I have some budget questions also.
So, I mean, I just don't think the 90% makes a lot of sense right now.
I don't know about 90%. I mean, because we don't know the exact numbers because we didn't submit our billing yet, so our invoicing yet. So it's
So we need to add the team budget into our outcomes, desired outcomes. Into our tasks.
So
The team budget is already in our priority list.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The work reporting docs, I think that's 90% also. Verify all main session notes are updated. I think that's also 90%. The invoicing billing for Andromeda, that's still 5%, or I think maybe at 10%, but it's right there. Deliverables, tell me wrong. I think we are giving more. Please, George and Steve, tell me if we're doing more in deliverables, right?
Our taxes are deliverables. We are on step 6 right now. We need to go over 2014. So I don't know if every single year counts separately, but we already have 17, 16, and 15.
Does anyone want to define a deliverable and how it's different from output?
Yes, I will define the deliverable how it's different than output. In terms that Jorge and Miguel and us, if I know, will understand. We finish when we work on, Jorge Anthony's, and we finish step 6 for 2016. That is, output. We finished step 6. The deliverable, when we do the taxes and the taxes are submitted, technically we'd have to really wait to hear back from the IRS. But I guess in our case, we say when the tax forms are prepared and done, that's when it's a deliverable.
Yeah. So just like with output, like output has initial output, primary output and final output. Just like that, you have deliverables, have initial deliverables, which could be draft. So actually completing physical tax docs and transferring them over digitally or physically, like as a draft, that's a initial deliverable. It's actually an actual product, right?
But according to the policies, nothing can be charged unless it is completely done.
Wait, stop. That's not been voted on yet. Number 1, it hasn't been voted. Number 2, that it just hasn't been voted. I have problems with that too, Jay. By the way,
we can talk about it. I think that it's a very different policy than we've been doing before.
Right, I'll tell you my problems with it when we're ready to talk about it.
Okay, cool.
I mean,
so the rules right now, it's how much percent? Because for me, it's also
I would say 0.
0. We have nothing deliverable. We have output. We have nothing deliverable.
Okay.
We have a lot of output, but nothing deliverable.
Yeah. Scheduling will be 50%. We need to do a schedule again, right?
And be 55%. Yes. Yeah.
5. Okay. Session support.
It's on the list for today's stuff.
I would say a little more on session support because we're preparing for the full moon session and everything. It's good.
55%. Okay,
yeah,
that's 8 initial
we
topics.
did a little evaluation today. That's exciting. We're making progress on our evaluation.
Yeah.
Okay, that's 9 topics. We continue or we stop?
I think we should stop and move on.
Also, it is 11 minutes in this subject. We are overdue by 6.
I think we're ready. Move on.
Okay, let's move on then.
Cool. But we made a lot of progress. We got a lot of reds to oranges and a lot of oranges to yellows. So this is good. All right. So, okay. So now we're going to go into
update prioritization process.
New updating of the prioritization process that I'm really excited about. Okay. So every single group has a prioritization spreadsheet. So let me go ahead and link that here. So this would be the Andromeda prioritization spreadsheet. And you guys are able to see my screen, or should I try to redo it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I see the screen.
All right. So the first thing is that let's just go over what we used to have. We used to have like here are all the goals and priorities of the organization or of our team, and then here are the votes, and then you average them out and you prioritize it, right? And that's all the work that we're doing and the outcomes that we're trying to achieve. Priorities can be both internal and external. Okay.
Yes.
So these are current team goals and priorities. And this would be our internal team setup is going to be the new one. So internal team setup is basically the same thing as the priorities, except it's internal, right? So this is going to be related to how we do all of our, it can be related to how we do all of our agenda creation and prioritization. And this is what's called, I'm calling it it's a very high level agenda and organization strategy that, you know, it's always been part of our policies, but we just never really did it because I don't know if we were quite ready. But I would call it a double dynamic agenda and prioritization process. So it's a high level process, but I think we're ready. I think it's going to really help us get organized. So the primary difference between internal and external is that the internal ones are part of our team, our group, as opposed to accomplishing external goals or client goals. Steve, I think you should mute probably.
Excuse me?
I think you should mute probably.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm done. I'm done with what I was saying. Sorry about that.
No problem. It's fine. Cool. So basically, what we would have here is we would make sure that all of the top priorities that we just went over as a team are included. So, for example, we have scheduling, billing, payroll, et cetera, evaluations, right? So let's make sure all those are in there. It looks like, you know, some of them already are in here, so we don't even have to worry about them. Cool. And then what we all do is we just basically vote on these, and then that creates our priorities for then
add our entities to that list in VCXMS. Those are our priorities.
Okay. But
right
again,
now.
That's the primary difference. That's the primary difference you want to think about here is that there's the internal team setup, right? So before, let me actually back up a step. So before we had, a group/team setup, right? And then we had group/team priorities and goals, right? And then goals. And then we had primary topics, I think, right? That was like our it was like a try system of agenda organizing, right? And so what we're going to be going to is just the group team setup, and the group team setup is going to include prioritizing our goals and priorities, right? That's part of our group team setup. And then the actual primary topics are our goals after they're prioritized, right? Right. So basically we have two sets of agendas. We have our internal team setup agenda and we have our team goals and priorities agenda, right? So this includes all of our team goals and priorities are our external work that we're doing, as well as potential other internal work that we want, right? So the difference is that Jorge entities would not be an internal setup priority. Jorge entities would go under team goals and priorities, and you can see it here, right here. It's right there, okay? Does that make sense, Steve?
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Okay, so let me just make sure it's clear how this works. So the reason why, so the team setup verification we already did, right? And this would be one component of our organizing that we can't forget about, that it needs to be somewhere. And then there's our team goals and priorities, right? And this would be our, brainstorm, etc., right? Making sure all of our team goals and priorities are addressed. When we hit the team goals and priorities agenda topic, we switch to the team goals and priorities, and we go through the other priorities. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess so.
It's a little confusing because I still don't see the.
I don't see the need, but I understand. I just don't see the need. But okay.
Well, I know, but we're going to practice this, and you can only learn from doing it. It's kind of hard to just talk about it and understand how helpful and useful this is going to be. So, oh shit.
We've done all this
6 minutes on this topic.
Sorry, say again, Steve.
We've done, as you see from the sheet, we've done these prioritization spreadsheets before. It's not like it's something new.
Well, but we're updating the process. It actually is new. So just hold on, guys, and just let's keep going through it. So within the goals and priorities, we put team setup, right? And then this becomes when we switch back to our team setup, right? So whenever we want to prioritize our team setup, we can switch back to our team setup. And then whenever we prioritize our team goals and priorities, we switch to our team goals and priorities, right? So our team goals and priorities represents Jorge entities, all of the taxes, 1099s, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, as well as all of our other planning, organizing, okay? So does that sort of make sense?
Yeah, it sort of makes sense.
So now we're just going to go ahead and vote. And we're going to start by voting on the team priorities, the internal team setup, sorry. So we're going to start by voting for our internal team setup. And make sure we go through it all. The biggest difference of this from the old system is that we actually consider all of the priorities we have instead of just the ones we think about at the beginning of the meeting. And this will also enable us to balance and maximize our planning for the future so that we don't lose our step of where we are in our meetings for the work that we're doing. Cool.
You have billing and invoice and budget and invoicing.
So it's probably the same
What's
thing.
the
We can delete
difference?
one. We can delete one.
All right. I'm just saying, I want to make sure.
And the best part about this is it allows for a much more dynamic and inclusive and collaborative process of building our agendas and our priorities as a team instead of just as individuals.
Payroll separate verifications are two different things. Miguel, are you filling out this form? Are you putting in your numbers on the Andromeda prioritization sheet? Column H. That's you, Miguel.
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you filling out the prioritization sheet?
Yes, I'm reading.
Oh, there you are. I see you now. Okay. All right. Mm-hmm.
I can't figure out this material organizing.
Oh yeah, it's because we've never we've never gone through it before.
We have 10 minutes into this topic, and also we have 2 minutes into the top of the hour if we are going to take a break.
Yeah, let's just do our voting. And remember, we want to vote for our internal team setup as well as the current team goals and priorities. And then we'll just do our break at the same time. Okay, so we get like 5-minute break here as well as voting, and then we should be good. Okay.
We need to go all the way down?
Well, you don't have to vote if you don't want to. No. And the lower they are, the potential, and anyone can add anything they want to. So you can add any internal team priority and bring it in, or you can also, well, yeah, however you want to do it, it's fine.
We are 2 minutes away from the window period.
Yeah, so make sure you take a break. We can finish voting when we get back from our break as well.
It's already 3 o'clock. So if we're taking a break, we should do it right now. 3 or 5 minutes.
Sounds good.
All right. So 3-minute break.
Sounds good.
Okay, 3-minute break then.
How's everybody's voting going?
I'm back.
I'm back.
How's everyone's voting going?
I'm voting. We're voting.
I'm back.
Give me a sip of that, honey.
Thank you. When I was one of those places, that's where we find meteorology sites like that. Yeah, the nature coastal flooding impacted by here and one other spots along 14. Second time in 2 months, a powerful nor'easter will slam Long Island. We're out here at Montauk, and look at what winter storm Branson did back on January 4th. Took a huge flight out of the beach, losing 4 to 5 feet of sand. The beach flooded from there down to the water back in September when I was here covering a late season hurricane, but that's all gone. Water is down now. It's going to come up tonight from back here. But it's really the high tide beginning late tomorrow morning through Saturday morning of concern. Pretty the high tide. Minor coastal flooding expected, especially.
I'm looking at the review of 2014-15 Ori entities.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the review of 2015, 16, and 17, or Anthony, because we haven't. It's 2013 and 14 that we have to review there. We have paperwork on.
Okay, that's fine.
So I'm going to change it to 2013, 2014. And it's very important because I started doing it already.
We complete the time for this topic.
All right.
Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and review the internal team setup. Looks like everyone finished voting. What is this? That's so weird. Huh. So I'm gonna go ahead and prioritize them. So we're gonna find a couple interesting things here. One is that when we vote as a group, we bring up a whole bunch of additional priorities much higher into the rankings than we originally realized. So sometimes there's a lot of priorities that we don't really address because we just forget about them. And so this process will make sure that we actually, don't lose track of all the previous meeting priorities that we were doing. And then it also gives us a clear line in the sand of where we switch to our team goals and priorities from our normal priorities. So do people understand that? So basically, if we went with this new method, our agenda would be, we would start with billing and invoice because that's what got the most votes as a team. That's what we prioritize above everything else. Then we do tax forms, FQN payroll verification, investor relations, full moon budget proposals, payroll setup, and then calendar issues. So that would be our new, and then we would go on to goals and priorities, right? That would be our new agenda. And so this agenda is, instead of just thinking about random topics and then randomly putting them together, it like actually prioritizes them as a collective mind, as our whole team together, so that we always know we're talking about and focusing on the most important priorities of the team. Did you guys all vote for the current team goals and priorities?
Yeah, I did.
Yes.
Okay, yep. So then we can look at this as well. So here we can see invoicing and billing is our top priority. This is also an internal setup issue, so we don't need to worry about that too much. And then also we can add in our estimated time here, estimated time. So from there we have Jorge entities, payroll, Octant organizing, accounting, budgeting, right? So you can kind of see how where we are as a team as far as our external priorities too. Okay. Yes.
So this has to be done every single time we have a main session, right?
Well, what's really cool about it is it can be done asynchronously. At any time, you can go and you can vote and update your priorities at the beginning of the meeting, at the end of the meeting, before the meeting, in the middle of the week. This also can be used by the midweek check-in, which I believe we're saying should be on Mondays.
Well, at the moment, yeah, but it depends on when. It depends on the Celine calendar.
No,
when
it
payroll
doesn't.
changes.
I'm talking about the midweek. I'm talking about the midweek check-in for the Andromeda team.
Oh yeah, Monday. Yeah, Mondays.
Yeah. So that would be the co-chair 8th moon session that you were referring to.
Yeah. Okay. No, Mondays.
Yeah. So anyways, I think it's pretty clear how this could be really helpful. Are there any other questions about the process and how it works in the outcomes here?
Oh no! As far as as far as I've been seeing, it's like voting on what you think it should be for you, because we're supposed to have worked on those who are less mentioned. Where is every single one of those categories there? And vote your personal number. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and then it all averages together so that we're paying attention to everybody's needs as a team and as a group. And then also It makes it easy to log all of the agenda issues that we don't talk about and then prioritize them. So that let's say for today, we only get through the first 5 or 6 things. We know exactly what we need to pick up on and to start our agenda for the next meeting, right? So it allows us to not forget about and to have ranked all of our priorities as a team from week to week so that we don't lose track of it, because we typically lose track of a lot of things. So anyways, I think I'm pretty much done here. So the next agenda item was before was scheduling. So right now we either can go with scheduling or we can go what we all voted on, which would be billing and invoicing. So we're all saying that billing and invoicing is the most important thing that we need to deal with as a team and our voting, but our agenda says that our next agenda topic is scheduling, right? So you can see the difference of what one version of the agenda is compared to the other one. One agenda is basically just randomly puts things together. The other actually prioritizes them and ranks them by the actual importance based on each individual team member. Okay.
Okay.
And then the idea of this is that if you look at this agenda for our team setup, it could take us a month, maybe 2 months to get through all of this. Right? So the goal is that every single week we go through a little bit more, and over maybe many months, it's like one big long agenda, and every single meeting you can change your priorities and you can update it. But the goal is to eventually get through all of it. And the same thing would be with our goals and priorities. It could be a couple months to get through all of these as well. And go through all the training and all. But the idea is that we don't forget about it week to week, that it's in our priority spreadsheet and we're always prioritizing it. And the ones that have been around are there and we know when we'll get to them. So I think that's it for me on this. So we just have to decide if we want to either do scheduling next or if we wanted to do the top priority here to be billing and invoicing.
Okay. We are really far from the time we were scheduled for this.
Okay, I think if we do billing and invoicing, it might cover 2 things on there. It might cover the full moon deadline for bills and the billing and invoicing at the same time, because we have a couple of questions, and I think it might cover everything at once. So we could make that a 2-in-1 topic.
Yeah, well, that's typically what happens. Is the most important topic that's prioritized typically is relates. Every single topic relates to every other topic. Right? So by prioritizing and doing our top priorities, it ensures that we get the most accomplished as a team and allows us to move forward faster as a team. So that's like the thing that is the biggest problem. So by prioritizing all of our goals and priorities, it allows us to know what we need to work on throughout the week, right? These are all the work that we need to do in the buddy teams, right? So if we just complete our number 1 priority every single week, we would be in a really good shape right now, but we don't. So every single week goes by, we seem to somehow slip and we don't accomplish our number 1 priorities, which is definitely a problem. Okay. Cool. So I think that's it. So I think the decision was to go through billing and invoicing next. Is that correct? Cool.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to pass this one back over to you, Steve, and you can facilitate.
Okay, I will handle this. So I know, Jorge, can I take your question? You wanted to give us your question on billing and invoicing, and then maybe or ask Jay, or would you like me to do it?
Yes, go ahead. We've been working on this. You know what it is.
Okay. So we were reading through the proposals for the quarter moon, and we saw a couple of things that kind of concern us. As I don't know about Jorge, but it concerned me and Jorge as a buddy team and as the Andromeda team. The first one is the proposal saying that you don't get any output bonus until things are completed. There could be people waiting 6-8 months for output bonus because some things take months and months and months to do. And if they did the work in January, they shouldn't first get their bonus in, say, August, at the end of April when we finish taxes, because they did the first part of the output. When we asked them to do January and we didn't get to do the taxes until April, it's not fair to them for them not to get output bonus. Okay? It's not fair.
What is it that takes months and months and months to do?
Okay, let's say step 1, 2, and 3 could be done in January. We don't finish step 6 and 7 until the beginning of April. Is it fair that the people that did their output in January have to wait until April to get?
But why can you not do step 4 in January or February?
Let's say step 4 is done, but we don't get to step 6. You and I don't get to step 7. Because right now it's you and I that do step 7. You or I. And maybe now that we have some
why is it just me and you that do step 7?
Wait. Up until now, it's just been me and you doing step 7.
Okay.
It's changing. I'm training people. You have people in local SWA, but up until now, it's been you and me that do step 7.
Okay.
Would it have been fair to Zilla, Joyce, Zilla, Albina, Lucy, who did steps 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we took the time to get step 6 and 7, even though there were problems with it, they did most of the initial output, and we didn't complete it until the last day because we had so many other priorities, and we didn't get to it until the last week. And that's happened, multiple times. Is it fair that they should have to wait for their output bonus because we didn't get to it because we were busy?
Okay, well, I would ask the question, if Lucy, Albina, Zilo, all those people do steps 1 through 6, right? And then they get their hundreds of dollars of output bonuses, and they're all happy, hunky-gory, and Steve and Jay are busy doing other things, and step 7 never gets done for months and months and months. Is it okay for the organization for basically Lucy and Zilo and everyone just to walk away and just do whatever they want to and not ever worry about it, as opposed to them, if they're not going to step up and help with step 7, they should be emailing and reminding and pushing it every single day. Skype message, have you done step 7 yet? Skype message, have you done step 7 yet? Email, did you guys do step 7 yet? Like literally like a broken record until it gets done, right? As an organization,
have we ever told them to do something like that?
To do something like what?
That they should if they think something should get done, they should message us.
I say it all the time. I always say that everybody should be sending messages to me all the time and managing our time to make sure the work gets done. We need to be tracking the work and reviewing it and verifying that it gets done. If it's not getting done, to remind people to do it. I say that all the time.
And this is going forward from when, this proposal?
Well, it would be for the next payroll cycle.
Okay, so anything that's already been done, people will get paid for, and
people already got paid their bonuses.
So, the next payroll ended today.
Yeah, well, the next payroll cycle starts today.
Right, so we'll be starting today. Okay, all right.
But anyways, for me, the idea is that, like, as an entire team, we should all be responsible for getting the work done. So another example would be the nonprofit taxes. It's like you feel like you're totally done with the nonprofit taxes and like you're passed off.
No, I don't.
Okay,
and I never said I did.
But we're not getting it done.
But I have to do the California. I'm in the middle of doing the California right now.
Okay. I wasn't aware of that. So
no, you're not. Oh, thank you. Am I aware of everything you're doing?
No, but my point is simply that we didn't get it done.
I did message you and say I was going to do them this week.
Yeah, but my point is that we didn't get it done, and we paid you multiple bonuses for nonprofit tax work. Does that make sense?
You paid me one bonus for it, but yeah, fine.
We paid you multiple bonuses for nonprofit taxes and other finance work, yet the work is still not done. So we're giving out bonuses, lots and lots of bonuses, really, and the work is still not getting completed.
Well, part of that is because we had wrong numbers, or the work was done. Well, we were given the wrong information. We didn't have the differences for the people. You thought they were done also, Jay, until he called you when they were going for their, for whatever money she was going to get, and he needed the money. Because he said, we made more money than, and then I went and found the rest of the money. But that was because steps 1, 2, and 3 were done wrong. That they didn't do the January, and February, and March. Well, when we finished them, we thought they were done.
Okay, but
you
either way,
thought they were done, and I thought they were done.
Okay, but either way, we're getting letters from the IRS, and they're very concerned, and for both organizations that needed updates. So regardless of whether me or you thought it was done, it wasn't done, and the IRS told us it wasn't done.
Okay, so I already sent you the other ones, and I will, if I have to print them and mail them to you, I'll print them and mail them to you.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. So overall, I mean, that's our new process. I think it will work very well. But overall, the point is that as an organization, we need to be working together as a team.
You know, or tell me I can electronically sign them as an executive of the organization, and then I'll mail them. Whatever, you know.
Well, I mean, I do think they should be double and triple checked. I think it makes sense that we would just get everything paper and then review everything. It just makes sense as an organizational.
I will put them in the mail to you tomorrow.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Because the federal's done, and I'll see if I can finish the state tonight.
Yeah, but somehow, some way, we need to figure out how to build urgency into our organizational culture, because right now it's just not there.
I think we can do that going on from this payroll, I guess.
We have 7 minutes on this topic.
Okay, I don't think it's taken. And the other thing was about billing in invoicing. Oh yeah. What is the outcome? We did not do a 146 invoice, and you're saying that you're going to do the future for the next month's budget according to the 146 invoice. Do we have a day or two to invoice our time from 146?
Okay, so this is another proposal. So the proposal is that the deadline for invoices for all teams will be the full moon, right?
Right.
So that's the proposal, and it includes one time extra week for now. And additionally, we can mix and match the invoice for the 146 degree. Okay, so what that means is that you can use the numbers for this month for your previous month's invoice.
Okay. So I use the last 2 weeks of last month and the first 2 weeks of this month?
Yeah, you could do that. But basically, like, if you use the first 2 weeks for this month, you would double use it. Okay, does that make sense?
Okay, that's okay. We can do this.
Right. So
we're working on the first 2 weeks of this month already.
So at the next full moon,
2 weeks of this month already.
Exactly. So at the next full moon, you're going to be using this month, the 136 degree west month, for your invoicing for the next full moon, right? But you're also going to be using some of this month as well as last month for this full moon's invoice, since we just don't have people they weren't tracking it.
So since we're just hearing all this, do we have until like Monday to turn in the invoices?
The invoices are due. I mean, I'm not looking at the proposal, but it's on there. I think it's March 6th or something like that. I don't know. We have a week.
Okay.
So everyone gets an extra week.
We'll be done with them on Monday. That's fine.
So it's like an extra week, or like you could even say the quarter moon, right? Whatever the quarter moon is, So the idea is that everyone gets 1 week to do the invoice, and then based on your invoice will be the determining factor for your budget, and then you get an extra week for your budget. So you have 1 week for your invoice and 1 week for your budget. Typically in future, you'll have 2 weeks to get your invoice in and a full 2 weeks to do your budget.
Well, no, once we get that spreadsheet up and running, we're gonna do real time, invoicing as we work. We're gonna, invoice. We're gonna put it on the spreadsheet as we work.
10 minutes into this subject.
All right. So that'll resolve a lot of the problem. The Andromeda team is gonna have a real time spreadsheet where everything is gonna be on it. So that'll solve that problem. It's right now there's only 3 people that that submit their do their invoicing through Andromeda. It's not like there's a lot of us, and so we can do it real time. All right, that's fine.
Here and henceforth, we will get no bonuses until the work is totally done. So,
not counting what you've already done, starting this pay period.
So, bottom line is everyone's correct that the vote has not been taken yet. So the proposal is proposed to the full moon session, and that's where the decision will be made. If it passes, if the proposal passes, the new policy will be that, like, let's say you work on steps, like you're saying, 6 and 5 and 4 and 3 of the Jorge entities, right? But we never ever finish it. It's like, why should we give out all these bonuses for people not to take responsibility to get the work done? Right? So it's like you'll have, I mean, the idea originally was like the bonuses were really for final output and final deliverables. Like that's what the bonuses were for. But people, have been wanting bonuses for just initial output and initial work, right? Which I think makes sense. And we want to give as much output bonus as we can. But we should give it when the full completion of all the work is done. Then we give all the bonuses for the entire project, back to everybody who's worked on it.
I can respond on that.
Yeah.
There is 11 minutes on this subject. When the task has a lot of time to be completed, the worker generally feels that his work is not appreciated. If you divide the work in steps and you reward the worker in every single step, you will give him a boost because he's completing something.
Well, but it's not like you're not getting the bonus.
Gotten something for completing it, is what he's saying.
Yeah, but it's not like you're not getting the bonus. It's just being withheld. Like the bonus is being withheld until the actual finish line, right? It's like giving out the gold medals before you actually finish the race.
It's not about gold. It's not about. It's Pavlov theory of behavior and reward.
Well, I know the reward for doing a sporting event is getting your gold medal, and there may be.
Give me one moment, please. You will the worker a cookie, and the worker will continue to work because he achieved something. If the worker never achieved anything, and he needs to wait for 5 months to get his bonus.
But what takes 5 months? What is this? What is this work that takes 5 months?
No, it's just an example, and I'm
asking an example. You guys keep giving these examples of these huge long projects that take months and months and months. Please give an example of a huge long project that takes months and months and months.
I would say taxes.
Like you, an entire tax, right? Like when you go to HR Block to do taxes with your business or whatever, they could do it in weeks. Like if you actually just do the taxes and you go through all the finances and you categorize it and you do it for 1 year, it can be done in like less than a month, easily. Steve, how long do you think it takes to do taxes?
Good.
How long do you think it takes to do 1 year of taxes, Steve?
If I'm starting from scratch at the beginning myself,
sure.
Pulling the CSVs, a month.
Well, no, as a team, yeah, less than a month.
Yeah.
Like
part of the problem is, and the reason it takes so long, Jay, if we could actually discuss this, is that steps 1, 2, and 3 are done so badly that when we go to look at step 4, we have to basically just do step 4, 5, and 6 like nothing was done except pulling the CSVs. So it's the level of work that we're getting from the people that we're doing the initial output that causes a lot of problems also.
Okay, but I mean, I think that's also, maybe we need to do some training and to send it back. Like when people come to me and they're like, oh, the payroll's all done. I'm like, no, it's not. And I send it back. And I'm like, I refuse.
The problem is that it's a cloak living. They don't know the categories.
I know, but if you don't ever tell them the categories and train them, they can learn. People can learn.
I've done multiple training sessions with them.
Well, I don't know what to say. I mean, we got to get better at it, and there's got to be a way to do it. I mean, you're saying it's not helpful at all? It's literally not like we should just not have them do it?
It's helpful because the CSV's involved and everything's there. But in 2016, there were over 200 duplications of lines.
Okay, but I think that's pretty solvable. Plus, it probably only take less than a half an hour to get rid of the duplications if you just use algorithms.
Sorry, if I can say something, for the people who is really trying to achieve the goal, when we see things like that, it's very, very upsetting.
What is very upsetting?
To see mistakes like that.
I know that upsetting. It's just feeling like my
it's like why if I am in step X, why I need to go back to step 1? If I am in step X, so I'm
let me get
fixing
this straight.
somebody else's problem. I'm going to get chilled out and who is going to get like how do you say? ¿Cómo se dice regaño en inglés, Jorge?
Told on.
So exactly, told on that why this is thing not done, why is it, why is that, and the people who didn't do nothing, they have no accountability about that.
Okay,
so I'm going to be the vibes. I'm going to step in as a vibes person. The problem is, Jay, when you keep saying why isn't it done? It should have been done. Why isn't it done? We're sitting there working 2-3 hours a day, every day, fixing people's problems to get it done. And very often, like I was upsetting to you earlier, and the gentleman here just don't like to say it. It's upsetting sometimes the fact that you say, how come it's not done? Why isn't it done? When we're busting our tail every day to get it done. And I work, individual time even to get it done. But it's so hard to get done because we're always fixing mistakes. So then it just comes to where we do it ourselves. We just basically erase everything and do it ourselves. And then it gets done. That's why steps 5 and 6 got done for 2015 and 16 in a week and a half. Because we just sat down and did it. So 3 years up to step 6. And by the end of the week, hopefully by tomorrow, or by Monday the latest, 13 and 14 and 15, 16 and 17 will be ready to put on tax forms. But it would be nice every now and then, and this is what he's saying, instead of hearing why isn't it done, because we put down what we do every day on Skype. They hear from the centaur and CEO, great work, guys, it's getting done, instead of why isn't it done yet.
Okay, so I didn't quite understand that last bit. You're saying I'm supposed to say great work, it's getting done, as opposed to the work's not getting done yet. If the work is getting done, or if the work is not getting done, I didn't quite understand that part.
If the work is getting done, and the work in the last week and a half, three step 6s were finished, right? 15, 16, and 17. It's put on the Skype, so we know it's there. And all we hear is how come the work's not getting done? Why isn't Jorge Anthony's done? It gets a little discouraging.
I guess for me,
discouraging.
Well, no, I think for me, there's a little bit of a miscommunication. But going back to what you were saying before, and then I'll move on, like comparing this, which I think is a very professional relationship between managers and owners, everything, and workers, to encourage people to do more work, compared to like what you were talking today, where you said that people like you, are blah, blah, blah. I don't think there's any comparison there. I think one's a personal reference about you as an individual, and the other is a professional relationship.
But actually it wasn't meant that way. Like I said, it was meant people like you were so busy that they missed it. That's how it was meant.
Okay. There are 4 minutes over doing this subject.
So anyways, going back to just the Jorge Antes, I think there's a miscommunication. I think part of this comes from us not prioritizing enough and spending more time on it as a team, as opposed to everyone thinking you're supposed to just go off and magically get everything done by yourself, right? And it's that what, like, the primary goal for Jorge Entities right now is not to get the taxes done. Like, we don't even talk about taxes.
It's just get on paper to show him. I know.
Yeah, anything to show him. That's all we need. We only need 1 year. We don't need 5 years. We need 1 single year for 1 single, like the federal. Like, he doesn't care about California. He doesn't care about anything.
Okay.
Like,
you'll have that tomorrow.
If I was doing that
tomorrow.
Exactly. If I was doing it myself, I could probably have gotten it done, weeks ago, right? So it's the point is that it's like all we need is something to show the client. We have literally nothing.
All right.
To show him.
All right. You'll have some stuff tomorrow. You'll have something to show by tomorrow. I told you by the end of the week. Sure. I did tell you by the end of the week.
Well, I think you said by the end of the month, like many weeks ago. But the point is that I don't care what you say. I care what we accomplish, right? So it's fine whether it's done tomorrow or not. I could care less. What matters is that we just have something to show the client at some point in time. But more importantly than that is to understand why. Why would we want to show the client work?
So he keeps paying us.
Yes, and to pay us as much as possible. I personally do not feel comfortable asking him for more money without a single shred of anything after him paying us $6,000 over 6 months with nothing to show for it. So I mean, I if you really think about the reality of the situation of a client paying us $6,000 over 6 months with nothing to show for it, I think I'm actually being extremely nice.
Yeah.
Not the other way around. Like the whole idea that, and I think it's also very, unbelievable to hear from Miguel that Miguel gets so concerned and upset and feels attacked when I say that you guys need to step it up and do more work, or that we hear there's an error or there's a mistake, and that it's, you know, it's not a big deal, we just need to fix the mistake. And then to turn around and say like how upsetting it is when, you know, Zila or other people send you work that's not completed. For me, that's just a double standard and outrageous. To get upset at me for you know, calling out potential mistakes, and then you guys being outraged and upset that they are sending you stuff with mistakes.
I'm not upset about it. I'm just saying it makes the time take
Miguel.
longer.
That's what Miguel said. I didn't say anything about it. I said this is what Miguel said. I think it's insane.
It makes it take more time. That's all.
Yeah, but my point is I could care less if people do mistakes, and I'm willing to talk people through it. And then, you know, Miguel and, you know, to some extent Jorge get upset that I bring up mistakes and issues. And then you guys are saying you're upset when other people have mistakes. It's very odd. You know, we should all just like let go of it and just be like, you know, mistakes are normal. And we work with our colleagues to help support them fix it so that we can meet the needs of the client. And that has nothing to do about being upset. It has nothing to do about, you know, people being this or that or anything. It's just, this is how you run a professional business, is you fix mistakes and you address them before moving on. And it has nothing personal. It's nothing about anybody, you know?
But Jay, there is 7 minutes over doing this subject, but when you tell us why the work is getting done, I take it as a professional as I can. So I try to achieve goals, and when I see those kind of issues, I am not naming any names. I am saying that we encounter several times with issues. I feel responsible, and I want to. I always say I want to provide, to generate output. I'm very happy working with George and Steve because we are advancing fast. You know, the George entities, I think we advance a lot, and we can advance furthermore if we get organized better. And that's making me very happy because for first time in a lot of time, I think we are achieving something to bring money to the organization, which is a very essential thing. So the thing is, if I'm doing that, if what I'm doing is wrong, I don't know what FQN is really required of the work.
Well, I don't think anyone's saying that you're doing anything wrong. I think you're doing everything well, but it's like mistakes are a natural part of a progression of a worker and a business, an organization. We're making lots and lots and lots of mistakes. That doesn't mean that everyone's wrong. It just means that we need to work as a team to make sure that we're improving our situation and that we're being, you know, as efficient as possible where it matters. So in the context of my question to you, Miguel, would be like, how many times did you sit down with Abdul or Zilu and go over it with them? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Adding my bonuses there, so we should say there's not going to be any bonus for anybody, and I will stop. Actually, I will stop putting because well, just because if nothing is getting completed and I'm not turning any deliverables, so I don't deserve any bonuses then. So I'm just gonna receive my weekly bi-weekly payments and wait for the best and keep doing the work I've been doing. Check.
I like the fact that there are no contracts.
So, just to finish
what he's saying is, if he helped pay 5 people, 6 people one night, and the next day you finish the bonus, he's not getting any bonus, even though he helped pay those 5 people, and he did output for those 5 people. But the only person
not only for that. I mean, it applies to everybody. I'm not only talking by me. I'm just saying I'm not gonna add my bonuses because I feel like I feel like another person like me is gonna check my bonus and is gonna say, "No, you didn't complete anything," because that's the next thing I'm gonna do when I'm doing the payroll verification. Let's say Joyce did some kind of payroll, or did some kind of thing that deserves some output. I'm gonna say, "No, I'm sorry, Joyce, you don't deserve those $20. You deserve zero because nothing gets delivered."
Let me make sure a couple things are clear, because I think there's some mistakes here, and then I also want to go back to what I was saying about with Miguel, right? But the first thing is, like, let's look. I think you bring up payroll as an example, right? So let's say we start payroll, and we don't finish it through the next payroll cycle. So that, like, you have $20 of bonus, but the payroll didn't get completed because the payroll setup wasn't done, and blah 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 blah, all the other things. It doesn't like that. It's not like that $20 of bonus doesn't disappear. It rolls over to the next payroll period, and then we complete the payroll, and then everyone gets their bonuses for payroll, right? So if you look back at our previous payroll, we completed it, right? The new moon payroll for the end of the month for 146-degree moon month has been fully completed. So all of the bonuses will be issued for that payroll cycle.
But only for the people who completed with you.
No, no one ever said anything about that. Where does it say that in the policy?
And actually, that's another thing that becomes really, I mean, it's going to be even harder to track, because if I do some bonuses right now, they're not going to be paid until the next month or something. They're going to be harder to track. And actually, I mean, I'm just talking by me. Actually, I'm just going to lose my will about tracking my bonuses, because there's going to be bonus for like 1 month, 2 months back, and I'm just going to lose track of that, and I'll say, okay, I'm just going to become indifferent about it, and that'll be it.
And also, besides what George tells us, Jay, I remember that you tell us only when it's a complete task that should be a deliverable, and the person who is with me will get that bonus. So, like example, George and I work 10 hours on the payroll, and somebody else go with you and we miss only one, or we miss both of us because we are the last to get paid. And the next day somebody brings in, hey, just finished payroll, and in 10 minutes they pay us, he get the bonus because he completed the work with you.
And that's what you said, Jay. That's what it sounded like. Yeah.
When did I say this?
It becomes ambiguous who gets the bonus.
Last week?
Yeah, you said this before. That the people who finish the output with you are the ones who are going to get the bonus.
Well, no, the people who do the output get the bonus, right? That's the policy. The policy is the people who do the output get the bonus. So what does it say about me? What do you mean me?
They said that the way you made it sound is that if, let's say, Jorge and Miguel, because I don't do a lot of payrolls, with the end, with the very end. Well, if they work on you with doing all the figures and transferring the money and doing all the schedules and everything, and then maybe, and then the next day you actually go and do payroll with somebody, that person gets the bonus, not them. Even though they spent maybe 20 hours or 10 hours getting the work all set up so that the payroll could be paid, they feel like they're not getting the bonus because they weren't the ones who produced the output or produced the deliverable of people getting paid.
So I definitely think we should prioritize bonus processes in general so people understand the bonus process. But let's just look at payroll verification. So you brought up a whole bunch of different things. Let's just look at payroll verification as examples. So payroll verification happens twice per month. What would be the amount of time it would take to do the payroll verification?
That's a 2-hour money session. I don't think there should be any bonus for that.
Why?
Because it's internal work that needs to be done. It's regular work.
What isn't regular work?
Okay, let's see. It's not an output. It's just verifying numbers that are already there.
Well, but it's an initial output, right? It's initial output.
Okay, so then you want to give a bonus. Fine, it's initial output. Okay.
Right. So if it's done correctly, it's done well, we can give a bonus for it. But the question is, how many hours of bonus would it be give out for it? You're saying one buddy team.
For each verification, 2 hours max. An hour and 45 minutes max,
All right.
versus 15 minutes
Well,
setup.
let's say 3 hours. You know, I would go as high as potentially 4. But anyway, let's do 3 hours as an example, okay? So do we all agree that payroll verification could potentially be completed in 3 hours?
How many verifications?
One payroll verification, which is done twice per month.
It's not 3 hours.
One verification we done in 2 hours, but okay, 3 hours, fine.
Okay, Miguel.
Yeah, and actually it
How
cannot
long
be
do you think
completed
it
in 3 hours if
No,
people keeps adding things after we finish it.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Okay,
All right, go ahead.
but the ideal situation is that everything is completed correctly and the payroll verification is done. That's what output is, right? So let's back up a step. If you guys don't want to talk about payroll verification, we could talk about the previous step. So this would be the time and hours spreadsheet verification, right? Are we on the same page?
Yeah, man.
So let's say we do that for the month, right? I don't know, monthly or twice per month, right? Twice per month.
Right,
How long
twice
is
per
that going
month.
to take? How long does that take?
That's the hardest one. That's because you have to go to the people's payroll docs if they didn't fill it in and check and that's the longest one. That might take 3 to 4 hours.
All right, 4 hours, Miguel.
Yeah, that's the longest one. Yeah, that's the longest one. The initial putting the stuff down, going to the pay, going through everybody's work, who didn't put it in their work reporting docs.
Miguel, Jorge, what do you guys think?
No, I never did that step. We are always doing the payroll preparation, which is how much are the accounts, selling the gold, and all the stuff, and then getting
Jorge's done it. Jorge's done.
So Jorge, do you agree that it's like 4 hours?
Yes.
Okay, so my understanding is that would be 4 hours with a buddy team. So it'd be 2 buddy team sessions. So it'd be 4 times like 2 would be like 8, as much as 5 to 8 hours, maybe 6 hours total. Is that right?
A man hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So and I personally would argue like maybe that's a little high, but whatever. So if it comes to Jorge and Miguel, and it is not done, and Jorge and Miguel have to work on it, right? So let's say
which is a regular occurrence.
Which is a regular occurrence. So let's say they spend 15 hours on it, which is a regular occurrence, right? If not longer, 15 plus hours. Then it comes to Jorge and Miguel, right? And they put another 3 to 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours on it. Right? This makes sense? Are we all on the same page here?
I think you're right. It might be a little high, but yeah, go ahead.
All right, so we want to short it down like 10 hours. We'll 10 hours here, and we'll say 2 to 3 hours here.
Yeah, I'd say that's max.
Right,
here.
So let's say we have the total hours it took to do is 12 hours. All right.
That's the payroll and the first verification. Go ahead.
Well, no, this is just the twice per month time and hours verification spreadsheet.
No, that's way too many hours. It's way too many hours.
I know, but that's how long it takes people to do it.
Well, then you know what?
It's an example, right?
Yeah, this is an example.
Okay.
Well,
all right.
Oh, trust me. Even though we could do it in 6 hours, it takes them 10 hours to do it easily.
Okay.
If not more. They'll do it during multiple buddy team sessions. It potentially could be 20 hours. 10 hours is probably fast for the time they take to do it.
Okay.
I'm being very serious here. This is like everybody in the global team is and the old world team is working a lot of hours
on this subject. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's fine.
I just want to know that we are now 10 minutes before the end of this hour. We didn't do the wrap up, and we started on the subject.
Okay.
Well, we talked about starting wrap up at 4 o'clock, but anyway, should I continue or do
the only thing I want to say is I like the fact that Eileen actually did the first week of this month already did the payroll, did the first step for the first week's time. That's all. It'll save us time in the long run if people do that. If they actually do the first week, then we only have to add the second weekend. But go ahead.
Okay, cool. All right. So how would this be calculated? It's pretty simple. Basically, they shouldn't be doing more than like 6 hours total of output on this, right? And all the rest of it is basically them twiddling their fingers and taking their extra time on it, and doing training and learning how to do it or whatever it's going on, or making mistakes and having to redo it. Every time you redo something, is that considered output?
No.
Does that make sense, Jorge Miguel?
Well, yeah, it's not considered output, but I mean that take me to the first comment I did. How are we supposed to finish this?
I'm trying to explain it.
I think the person who loses the output is the people that did it initially, who made the mistakes. They should lose the output.
If they don't fix it, right? If they fix the mistake, then the second round is the output, not the first round. Does that make sense?
Right. Yes. That's exactly right.
It's pretty basic, simple. So let me just do the calculations and show you how this works. So if you have 6 hours of
You're not
output,
sharing the screen, Brian, just so you know.
I can share my
Or if
screen.
you are, I'm not seeing it.
No, it needs to be fixed. All right, so if you have
There you go.
If you have 6 hours of output, you would say that the old world team did 4 hours, and that Jorge and Miguel, or maybe just Jorge, because we're just talking about Jorge here, did 2 hours, right? So that would be 4 divided by 6 is 16%. Wait, that doesn't make sense. 4 divided by 6 is 66%. And then you've got 2 divided by 6 is 33%. So no matter what the bonus was or the deliverable about, if you broke it down by the percentages, you could do that as well. So it's an estimation, but the point is that whatever extra times that you're spending in doing it would be in relationship to the new level of output. Wait, I'm missing.
And when pay finally got paid, you would then receive the output bonus.
Yeah. So anyways, I did a mistake. So 6 hours of output from the old world team, right? And then Jorge's doing 2 hours output, a total of 8 hours. That's what I was trying to calculate. So it's 2 divided by 8 is 25%, and they would be 75%. I think that's correct.
Yeah, that's right.
Or whatever. I mean, the point is that
it's 25% of 8. This is 7. Yeah, that's 25%.
So the point is that if people are recording multiple layers of output and it's not adding up correctly, you prorate the output between all the people and you split it up accordingly based on people's involvement, right? And the same thing would be true for me. I mean, I don't even take output, right? I mean, I don't take bonuses at all. I cut my pay, right? So in the context of like the payroll verification, it would be the same thing. So I mean, I can explain it through payroll verification if we want to go through payroll verification now and do it again. If you don't understand
I understand it. I understand it.
Well, I know, but you're not the one who asked the question. Jorge and Miguel were asking the question.
But nobody. One of the things that I understand is nobody is putting output for payroll in this point.
Okay.
Sure it is.
6 hours of output.
That's output for payroll. That's the initial part of payroll. For step 1 is getting the numbers on from people's work or what if they're not on the payroll payments and hours timesheet. The first step is for people to check, see if the hours are there, go back and actually check that the hours are right. Because I can put down 60 hours and somebody has to check that I actually did 60 hours.
Okay, so if George and I are in final verification and we get the previous step is not well done. Well done. I don't know if I'm saying that right. If it's not done, they don't get the bonuses for that particular task.
No, what happens is that you have 2 options. Either option 1, you send it back, and they have to fix it, right? That's the first option, right? Are you guys understanding that?
Yeah.
Because I
work
feel
on
like
something else.
I feel like a lot of people aren't doing that. it's like you get bad stuff, and then instead of sending it back and making sure it gets done correctly, you just do it yourself and you don't tell them or whatever, then it doesn't, you're going to get it bad next time too, right? So then the second option is to fix it yourself. If you fix it yourself, then you are getting the output bonus yourself, right? And then you're prorating and you're dividing the output between everybody who worked on it. So if they put output and then you've also put output and it all adds up to more than what the output bonus should be, you're going to be prorating it and cutting it between all the people who are involved in the output.
Can I get one line in here? Just because this will make this a lot easier for Miguel. It's not that when we get the payroll, you know, it's usually fine. It's not that it's done wrong. The problem is that after they do their first step, or after it gets initial verification, people go in and add hours to the payroll payment spreadsheet without telling anybody and put their money and put numbers onto the new payroll payments doc without telling anybody, bonus and other. And then when we get it, we look at it and we're like, well, this doesn't make sense anymore. Or we finally verified that it's right. And we send it to, you know, to have payroll run. And then when, you know, you go to run payroll, it doesn't look right. It's not because it wasn't verified. It's because there were people going in there and changing things. So I think part of the problem is that everybody has access to the payroll docs.
Okay, so guys, this is a pretty easy fix, right? You could say, like, you could have a deadline for open access to the payroll verification, right? So you could say, okay, the new moon is here, and then, you know, you do 2 buddy teams and do payroll verification completion, right? And then after that deadline, you change the settings for that single. I can show you how this works. So if you come in here, you come in here to the actual tab. So it'll be a single tab, and you could change the settings to only be shared between the payroll verifiers. So you come in here and you could say duplicate, copy, rename, change color, protect sheet. So you're saying, okay, we're going to protect sheet, and we're only going to set permissions for the specific people who are doing payroll verification, and that everybody else would be cut. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes. That might solve some problems, Jay.
And then from there, anybody who has additional changes would have to be submitted by to the payroll
manager or to Joyce or to me or to somebody.
Well, it would be to everybody who's on the payroll verification spreadsheet. Right. So it would add extra work for all of the people who are doing payroll verification, because everybody would be sending them their inputs instead of putting it directly, but it would actually keep it all organized. So
right, like then we know it's not done. Yeah. You know, like this, we think it's done, we send it on to you, and you say, well, there's all these problems, and it's like, but it was done when we had it, but now it's been 3 days.
Well, I mean, let's not get overwhelmed and overzealous here.
And that's nobody's fault.
I know, but the problems that I talk about have never, ever been related to individuals changing things. I've never had that problem. My problems have always been like major issues on the overall calculations.
That or Doot. Or Doot.
Exactly.
Doot was an easy one, though. That was understandable. Doot was an easy one. You know. Yeah. All right. I think we need to see how as far as the bonuses go, I think we'll have to wait for the vote and see how the vote goes. And we're not saying that people aren't going to get their bonus if the vote gets passed, because you might have to wait a little longer to get your bonus. That's all. And that's not concerning anything you've done in the last couple of weeks. That's starting from, it will be from this vote on for the next payroll. So it doesn't affect anything you've already done, And
well, I mean, I think the proposal could affect the last 2 weeks, couldn't it?
I think you can't propose. I think it would be technically wrong to propose something retroactively, Jay. That's proposing retroactively. I don't know if that's,
But nobody is guaranteed getting paid their bonus. Period. Like, is there anything in the policies that guarantees anyone getting a bonus?
No, of course not.
So how is that a retroactive policy?
But it has been the policy of the organization that bonuses were paid for output, whether the job was completed or not. If we want to change the policy should change moving forward, not retroactively. Would be, in my business opinion, the proper way to change a policy. That you don't change it for work that's already been done.
I understand, but at the same time, you could also look at the perception that the original policy was all about final output and final deliverables anyways. So the fact that people have been using it for, initial output and initial deliverables is not really the reason why we created the policy.
But that is the way it's been perceived and been paid.
Yeah,
so
but
by the actions, let me finish. By the actions of the organization, we have said that it's okay, and this is what we're doing. If we would have said from the beginning, no, slow down, you don't get anything until it's done, that would have been fine. But for the past months, we have been paying myself included, and not you, myself included, have been getting bonuses for work that has been done and not completed. I really don't have a problem with changing that policy. I think we need to get the work completed, but I just think that it should be. This is that we, by not saying anything, I said that's the policy, because as executives, we didn't stop it. We let it go on, and we paid the bonuses saying that that's the way we're doing things. Now we came down and said, well, we changed our mind. We're voting on it. If it's a vote, the vote should be moving forward, not retroactive. In my opinion, I think it's bad business to go retroactive with it.
Okay, I mean, I think
it's harder to track.
And that's also true.
Yeah, well, I mean,
but this is my business opinion. That's my business opinion. Personally, when I get bonuses now, or when I send in the forms or whatever, it's not that much money. It's not going to make that much of a difference to me. But I just think it's people. We want to make a new policy or start implementing policy that was in existence that we haven't been implementing. That it should be from this time forward.
Okay, well, what you're proposing is the implementation would start at the next moon, which would be the 18 moon month, and it would be for the next end of moon payroll at the new moon, not the full moon.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. So I think that's a perfectly reasonable option, and we'll vote on it at the full moon. And I mean, I'm a kind of person who loves to implement and start practicing policies immediately, but we can wait. If people want to wait 2 weeks to start thinking about it, that's fine. But if we go forward,
no. Any work they do tomorrow, like starting tomorrow or later tonight,
but it doesn't affect the work. It only, unless people want it to affect the work, like Jorge was talking about. But what it affects running the payroll and the payroll verification and the documentation of the bonuses. So what we would say is if we're running the full moon payroll, we would ignore the policy for an additional 2 weeks. We wouldn't actually implement the policy.
Exactly.
We wouldn't actually start practicing.
Right. We would implement the policy starting, for the next, that's what I'm saying, yes. I think that's, a better, I think that might be absorbed better by the members of the rank and file, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Cool. So, I mean, I think that's pretty clear. I would love to go through the payroll verification example just to try to clarify it. But Jorge, Miguel, if you want to, I'm also down to, wrap up and move on. But
yeah, I got also a proposal. I don't know if I can bring it right now.
Yeah, go for it.
I am very I'm thankful because the final payroll verification is a very important task, and I'm grateful to the FQN give me that kind of responsibility, and I want to bring something that I always try to do it right, but it's a little bit frustrating to get paid as a last. Yes, like no matter what, I'm going to be paid last. So I think I don't care. I think it's not relevant to get paid our first or our last. I would like to be paid when it's available. Like any regular worker. Because
I'll tell you the reasoning.
Yeah, but give me one moment. Because if I am giving a task, if FQN give me a task to be the final payroll verification person with George, I will end that task because it's my responsibility. So I will not drop the ball in the middle of the payments because I already get paid. It's not what I am training to do in my life. I finish the task. Like if I bring an example, Abdul, when he was trying to get paid, and I bring it in the Andromeda session one time, because I know all the people should get paid for their work. So my proposal is just if George, I think I speak with you. If in the process of paying people, they can the FQN community can pay us in that moment, that would be ideal. Not the first one, not the last one. Just when the FQN has the responsibility to pay, because I take that responsibility to end the payroll every single time, and it's a little bit frustrating to check. Sorry.
Let me respond to this. Says the payroll manager. Okay. First off, as far as getting paid last, that only applies to the people running payroll, not verifying payroll. I asked her about that last week, and that's what I was told, that it applies to the people running payroll. Okay. Number two, the problem is you might keep working even after you get paid to make sure that everybody else gets paid. But it's been our experience that once people get paid, a lot of them stop working, and then there's no one to run payroll.
But
let me finish, because they got their money. We're not talking about you. We're not talking. Remember, you're one person in an organization. We're not talking about you, Jorge, me. We're just saying in general that it's been our experience that once not everyone, but once a lot of people get paid, then they stop saying let's prioritize payroll, and then when Jay's looking for someone to do it, there's really no one around.
Can I go next? Are you done?
Yep.
You're done?
Yeah.
So 2 things here. One is that I think your rationale about your work ethic and your involvement in doing not just the payroll, running of the payroll, not just the real-time finances, not just the payroll verification, but also all the endless responsibilities related to payroll setup, right? That you saying that you do it in completion and that there's nothing to worry about, I think that's an opinion. I think it's a perfectly reasonable opinion for you to have. I think it's based on anybody's perspective and based on anyone's own direct, perspective and in opinion of that, right? So I could say something different, in the relation. It's relative, right? It's relative to you and your involvement. It's relative to Abdul or relative to Joyce or anybody, right? So I could say this person is a little more or less or whatever, but in my personal professional opinion, even if you are less relatively affected by it, you still have have some effect of it, right? And it's just it might be less than other people, and you do a better job at fulfilling your tasks, not based on personal gain. But overall, I would still, in my personal professional opinion, think that it still affects your output and involvement. Either way, if you truly believe in the process of payroll and doing it professionally, and you would come to realize that if the people who are running payroll and preparing payroll do it well and professionally, and we did this every single month for the entire year that we did exit payroll, we got it done on time every single month, always, on the day that it was due, and we did it in fully. And it's because we prepared for it, we prepped it, we organized it, and we put in as much time as we needed to do it well and do it correctly every single month, and we did it.
That's the one thing Asia can never say, is that they got paid on time every single month. And their tracking was done every single month.
Every single month, right? So the ability for us to do it for ourselves is completely possible, right? So if we do it correctly, we should be able to run the entire payroll for everybody in a couple hours, and it should not be a problem. right? So there should be no worry about anyone getting paid last, because getting paid last means you're only getting paid a few minutes after everybody else.
Or a few hours.
Or a few hours at most after everybody else. Right?
Yeah,
That's how payroll should be run. And if it's not run that way, it's because the people who are working on it aren't stepping up to the plate and aren't preparing it correctly and are not organizing it correctly.
And on that, are you done? I'm sorry, are you done?
I'm done.
On that, now that we have Jay sold gold and there's money in the accounts, Jay, you have to remember to get some more gold to sell. That's just a reminder. You said to remind you.
We need to prioritize it as well. But yeah.
Yes, I will. That's a quickie reminder before I put it in the session. Now that, and it's mostly, a lot of it is this group and Joyce, right, have gotten to the point where we know what three payrolls money is. We know what's in the bags. We know what has to be there, and we're getting it there in advance of the payroll needing to be run. It should not take very long to run payroll once verification is done. So Jay's right. Everybody should get paid within a day or two at the most. Everybody should be paid within a day.
Our number one block right now in getting everyone paid in just a few hours is the new debit card. We need an additional debit card because we have this inability to pay more than $1,000 per day on the shift card. So if we got a second one, we'd be able to do $2,000 a day, and we'd be in much better shape. We got a third one, we could do $3,000 a day. So that is the last real obstacle to having our payroll being able to be completed in a few hours as opposed to a day or two.
And I will, in the second part, remind Jay when I prioritize him buying more gold, yes, prioritize getting another shift card. I'm making notes to myself.
Nice.
That's right. Good. Thank you very much, Jay. You know that I think that at some point you are trying to understand me because I discuss stuff so the organization rethink about it. But in the process of doing this transition, that I hope is going to be very short, to run the payroll as the point, can we vote just to the people who run the final payment, not get paid first, but doesn't get paid last also?
It shouldn't take more than a few hours. So what's the difference?
So let's go ahead and run the. I think we've talked about this enough, and that we should just vote on it, right? So everybody gets their proposals addressed and voted on. We're going to vote on it. We'll see if there's questions. We'll see if there's concerns. I think there are obviously some concerns, so we'll document those. But I will make sure that it's clear that, Miguel, you can work on payroll verification, and nobody is required to work on running the payroll. Like, you as an individual worker, you can voluntarily choose to do so, but it's not a requirement. Okay, do you understand?
Yeah, I know, but I like to deliver stuff, you know, and also I need to pay bills, and I know there is people who is waiting for the payment, and they're suffering, and I know that those people need to get paid quickly. So I bring all the documents. I think.
Yes. Are there any questions about the proposal?
I have all the information every single time. So it will be
very Miguel. So let's go ahead and vote on this proposal. So your proposal is to pay all workers running the payroll the same as all other workers, you know, quote, in the middle.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So are there any questions about the proposal?
No questions.
No questions. Are there any other concerns about the proposal? Obviously, there's lots of concerns.
I have lots of concerns. I do.
Do you want to summarize those at all, or do you want to just move on?
Sure. I'll summarize. My biggest concern is that, Jorge, you have the the integrity that you'll still stay there. I mean, Jorge and Miguel, actually, that even if you got paid, you would continue to work on the payroll. But it's been my experience working in this organization that very often after we get paid, they're not around to help do the rest of the payroll. That's my biggest concern about it.
Well, let's do it accountable.
What does that mean?
You know, we've been doing this since April. You have to understand. We've seen how it works. It's not like this is we make changes and proposals and policies are made from what's happened that caused us to make these policies. You know, Jay just didn't jump out of his head. Let's pay the people that do payroll last. This was a long thought out process that got it to this point where Jay felt that I agreed and I agreed and other people agreed that we have this problem with a lot of people that all of a sudden stop prioritizing payroll after they get paid. Not everyone has the integrity you do. And that's what you have to understand. So that's my biggest problem. That
thank you very much for that.
You know,
I say again,
that's my problem. That's my problem.
Let's make it accountable. Like, okay, if I, George, I'm going to speak in your behalf. Please tell me if I do something wrong. George and I will do final verification, and we are going to run payroll with Jay. If we fail to do so, there will be no output bonus for that, and we get downgraded by in the HR board as an example. But if we do it right, we are going to get the bonuses, and we are going to be more. We are going to get upgraded in the HR board. This is just an example. It's the first thing come into my mind. But it's
a good example. Oh, were you done?
Yes, and also I think if the idea is good with you, we can create accountability in every single task in the organization, so everybody should deliver in the correct manner.
We've done this multiple times.
Okay, well let me respond. So
but right now
I think accountability.
Sorry.
Can I go, or are you done?
Yes. Sorry.
So accountability is a very important concept, and we need to bring it up as an organization and have a full discussion upon it. I don't think it's applicable to this particular proposal and this particular agenda item. I think we're way off right now on our agenda item right now. But anyways, your proposal is reasonable and actually goes along with some of what we do, which is to reward people for doing well as opposed to focusing on, problems if they don't do good, right? And what happens to people if they don't follow through. But the idea that an output bonus would be used for accountability for me is, basically it's just not enough, right? It's like not giving someone their output bonus is just saying that they're not going to get the reward. It doesn't actually hold them accountable, right? So for me, I think it's a little bit short of the goal, but I think we should vote on the proposal and move on, and then we can discuss accountability at another time.
Okay.
But I'm open to hearing any ideas on how to hold people accountable, but basically saying basically it's saying that your output bonus is your pay. And for me, it's not. That your pay, you're already getting paid to do the work regardless of the bonus, right? I mean, the bonuses are nice and everything like that, but it's not like, it shouldn't be the difference of whether you're even just going to do the basic work. Like right now, we have a major problem in this network and the organization that the basic work isn't getting done, which is why we're in the situation where all the hours are getting cut and we're reconfiguring everything and trying to rethink everything to make it all work.
Well, this conversation is very welcome in that period of time, of course.
Yeah. Cool. Anyway, so let's go ahead and vote on the proposal. I think the concerns are clear. I think the questions are clear. Are we ready to vote? Is there any last questions or concerns?
No, I think they're clear.
All right. I think we should start with Asif because he has not said much.
Well, I have concerns as you people are having, obviously, but that as far as accountability is concerned, I'm very much satisfied with the work of Miguel and Jorge, so I'll go for yes.
And just to make sure you understand, Asif, that this applies to everybody, not just Jorge and Miguel. Jorge, your turn.
Yes.
All right.
Vote.
It's done.
Are you in your voting? What's your vote?
I've already voted, yes.
Yes. Okay, cool. And just to make sure it's clear, like, just writing something on the document's not enough. People have to verbally say yes or no. That's our policy, right? So when we stop and we're waiting for someone to say yes or no because they wrote it and they didn't say it, that's why. All right, Steve.
Steve.
And also, I'm probably going to call for a number vote, official vote, because we're probably going to need some official numbers here. Steve, you're muted. And Miguel, you're next.
Sorry about that.
Yes.
As much as I want to agree with Jorge and Miguel emotionally, my business sense and from what I know, I have to vote no.
And do you want to put a number on it? Because I think a number is going to be important here.
7.
A 7 would be a
Oh,
yes.
no, yes, no, for number 2.
2, okay. So, Asif, would you like to vote a number?
Yes, it's 5.
A 5. All right, so 5 would not be a yes. A 5 would be an abstain.
Sorry, make it 6. Yeah, sorry. Because
All right.
Yes.
So what you're going to see here is that the numbers are very different from the outcome. So what you get is you get three yes votes, right? Which is it will be barely passed, but the numbers, which is our official voting, is a 5.3, which is abstention, because the amount of the no vote is very powerful and balances out the amount. So like, let's say me and Steve were abstentions, this would easily pass. But the fact that we're not abstentions affects the overall decision making. So what we get is we get an abstention. So either way, this needs to go to the full moon session and should be addressed. Okay.
Okay.
Well, so I think we're almost done with this, but going back,
Copying and pasting it to the full moon session right now.
Perfect. And just include all this stuff here. All right. So going back to our original discussion here about the budgets and the new proposals on the bonuses. I mean, I want to make sure that we're on the same page with that, because I didn't hear that we were. And, in my eyes, everyone's still getting their bonuses. And it would, be like a month or 2 weeks later or a month later or whatever. It's not like we're taking away the money from somebody. They're still getting it, But anyways, I understand that there's concerns over it. But if people don't understand it, we should make sure we go through it more, and maybe we should just do it at our next meeting. It'll be a next step.
Okay.
But I don't think it's really going to affect people's bottom line, because everyone's still going to get their base pay and they're still going to get all their output on everything that is completed. But if it's not completed, we'd be giving bonuses out. And this is the same issue that Miguel's talking about. It's like, great, if someone's going to move forward with all the work even without the bonus, that's great, but it's just not the reality of the situation.
Well, I guess that at the end, all the bonuses should be reviewed by you, Jay, because if you ask me, because it's part of my job, if you ask me to check to do the final verification for the new payroll, I will check all the bonuses that people is put in there, and I'm gonna just say no, because they're not deliverables, and all the output bonuses will be no for me, will be 0, because they're not deliverables, and the hours they're taking for a job that is not completed, it still remain the same. I mean,
but that's
0.
That's not what we're saying, Jorge. We're not saying that they didn't do the work. We're just saying
No, they did the work, but they did not deliver anything.
But there's still output bonus. He's not saying there's not going to be output bonus. What he's saying is that the people won't get their output bonus until the deliverable part is done. Then everybody will get their output and deliverable bonuses.
So I think there might be still some not clarity on how our system works. So there's overall hours, right? Everyone understands overall hours?
Yeah, of course.
This is basically everything, all hours, right? Then you have what we call production. right? Production is when you actually, there's assigned hours. We have assigned hours, and that's just like doing work, but you don't have to actually complete anything, right? Don't have to complete a single thing. And most new recruits, that's all they ever do. Like a lot of new recruits are only do training, which is overall hours. They don't even get to assigned hours. And then they start working on things, and they don't complete anything because they have no idea what they're doing, and they don't actually accomplish a single thing. Right? Production is when you actually move something forward, right? So production, just like everything else, has initial production, you know, primary production or principal production, whatever we call it, principal production, and final production. So when you complete a lot of steps, a lot of steps would be considered final production. That make sense?
Right.
Could you guys give an example of final production in relationship to the finance process, steps 1 through 7? How about like step 1, right? So step 1, I download the CSV and I put the CSV online so people can use it. Is that, did I do any output there?
No.
I did no output, but did I produce something? And did I complete a step?
Yes.
Yes. Right. So you can have production without output, right? And it's very important. And a lot of people produce sub-steps, right? You can have sub-steps. So you can have sub-steps as principal and initial production, sub-steps. And now also you can have tasks, right? You can have individual tasks, right? Output, by definition, is a goal is achieved. Some type of goal is achieved on some level. And you have initial output, you have principal output, and you have final output. So the example of final output for payroll is perfect. Does anyone know the final output for payroll?
Getting people paid.
I would be a little more specific that you know, every worker has received their you know, payment in the bank, right? So that would be the final output, right? So what would be an example of a initial output? I think
putting money in the bank.
well, that's a little more complicated,
gold,
but let's just
buying gold and selling the gold. And
well, but that's not a responsibility. Let's do a responsibility. Okay. So it's a little clearer. This would be time and hour spreadsheet verification. So, so buying gold, putting gold in the bank, that would all be production because you don't actually. There's nothing achieved. It's just transferring money around. It's not. There's not. It's just production. You're moving things forward, but you're not. There's no output. The time and hours verification spreadsheet would be initial output. Right. The principal output might be the verification spreadsheet for payroll. Right. Would be principal output. As your or it's initial output. It's one of the two, right? But you know, sometimes you do a draft of it and it's not done yet, so it's not principal output. It's just initial output, right? All right. So then you have deliverables. Deliverables is the same thing, except instead of a goal, it's actual product, actual physical/digital product. So this would include initial deliverables. Deliverables, for example, a finance report. Right? A draft finance report would be an initial deliverable. What was another example of initial deliverable?
Verifying the hours of the worker.
No, that would be just out. That would be just, well, actually, that would just be production. Verifying any individual workers' output would be production. Verifying all workers' output.
The original set of taxes that we did for nonprofit.
That would be a good example, although I would put that in principal deliverable because it was turned into the IRS, right? So turning in, you know, initial or first round of taxes to IRS. What would be the final output for taxes?
Yeah, I'm calling the IRS and make sure that they're happy with them.
Exactly. Right. So there's different levels of deliverables, There's different levels of output, and they're very simple. It's initial, principal, final, right? And we want to give as much bonus as possible, so the bonuses are done in relationship to initial, principal, and final output, so that more bonus can be given. But in the end, we still have to finish the actual work, right?
Yeah, how would you relate this to the recruitment? You know, how the output and deliverables will be related to?
Cool. So let's technically speaking, you can almost have a deliverable for recruitment, but let's just keep it output.
No, I told somebody the deliverable for the recruitment. The recruitment deliverable is a worker who's come to a section and is scheduled on the Google Calendar and the Octane calendar. That is the deliverable. It actually works for, say, 1 pay period. You know, that would be the deliverable.
Yeah, I mean, I would even go further than that in saying like it's actually a worker completing work, like they've been trained, right? So like beyond just the onboarding, but actually getting them trained and working, right? And accomplishing work, right? So I would take it a little bit further, but yes, exactly.
You mean to say to assign them at least one responsibility which will turn into deliverable for me?
No, if they complete it, if they learn a responsibility.
Yeah, but basically,
if you sent out the initial, contacted them by email, followed them through, onboarded them, did everything, got them in the schedule, and then they start working. To me, that's a deliverable for you. I don't know if it is to Jay, but to me it is.
Yeah, but let's say they work for 2 weeks or a month and then they leave and they quit. It didn't meet the mark. Does that make sense? Like for me, it's a they have to stay around. They have to actually stay around and produce within the organization to be an actual recruit. Does that make sense?
How long though? How long?
For as long as we need them to do the work. So if the work that they need to do only lasts a week, then that's a deliverable. But if it doesn't and it lasts many months, then it's like if they leave in a month, they only complete a quarter of the work. It's not really like we need to continue to do recruitment. We can't stop recruitment.
Then you might have to wait a year for a recruitment deliverable.
No, it's only a month or so, month or two, because it's like basically they have to finish their exemption, right? They have to no longer be exempt because they're actually getting work done. Right, that's for me.
So it's basically they have to work a month. Okay.
Exactly.
They have to work a month. Okay.
They have to work a month, and the reason for that is that if they don't, you're not done with the recruitment. You have to go and recruit more people to do the work. So the recruitment's not. So recruitment deliverable means we've fully brought in all the workers that we need to have final recruitment. You know, because then we don't have to do recruitment anymore. Does that make sense? Recruitment. There's no question about it that recruitment is one of the hardest possible things to have final deliverables on and final output on. There's no question about it. There's like what's harder than recruitment? Recruitment's so hard. So that's why we focus on the principal and the initial output in relationship to recruitment. Okay, so you can still get bonuses for all of the steps of recruitment. Each step is its own output. Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Cool. Another good initial deliverable would be a draft budget. And then a principal deliverable would be for example, the new moon session approving the budget. Right? Approves the budget. What would be the final output on the budget? What's the final output for the budget? Come on, guys. You guys know this.
Get the global budget done, like all the Octane's budget done and balanced.
That would be the draft. That would be the initial deliverable that then is presented to the new moon session where it's voted on. That's the actual final vote is the principal deliverable. The vote itself is the deliverable. What is the final output? I mean, not the final output, the final deliverable of the budget.
Get the budget approved.
By who? It already is approved by the new moon session, by the core team.
Send the money to the team.
Oh, I know the answer. I just don't want to say.
Nope. What happens when someone wants an advance?
Get budget approved in the main session.
No. What happens when someone gets an advance? Where do you approve advances?
Come on, guys. Asif, you should know this.
Who approved your advance, Asif?
HR ranking.
The
HR board, exactly.
The HR board, yes. All right, so the final deliverable of the budget isn't completed until the HR board has voted on it. The approval from the core team is just the second to last step. So if we don't take it through the last step, we didn't actually do the final deliverable. So why should we give all the bonuses for all the initial deliverables and the initial output and all the core principles? Because it's like that final step of getting the HR board to vote on it is not really that hard. It doesn't really take time. It just takes effort. Someone needs to actually follow through with it and just do it. Right? So that's the concept. You guys understand?
And it comes down to it shouldn't have to be Jay or me that do it. And that's why happens a lot is I end up doing the HR board proposal. But anybody can type a proposal and send out the emails and put it on Skype. I mean,
Yeah. Well, anyways, I think we're ready to check out. This is really good stuff. The more people understand about production, output, and deliverables, and the fact that you guys are even passionate about it, like Jorge being concerned about not getting your bonus, and Miguel being concerned about his value, and this is all good stuff. This means that people care. It means that people are taking ownership of the organization and their relationship to it. We got to do the team equity and the network equity. It's really important so people understand not just their work, but their actual, your equity and your tokens and your value that we're building in this new vision of the economic systems that we're building together. It's very exciting. And until that piece is filled, that puzzle piece is filled, you guys will not understand what we're doing here together and why this is so hard. So I think we are done. Shall we go ahead and check out, Steve?
Yeah, so we need a little time, an hour and a half or so before the next meeting.
Yeah.
For those of us who are going to be there.
Yeah.
Want to eat some dinner. Andrea, have you looked at just that one thing? Since we were supposed to do a little full moon prep here and we didn't. Did you look at the full moon?
All the proposals and everything. I didn't get a chance to look at it. I'm sure it's fine.
I went through. We pulled some.
Yeah.
From other sections that weren't in there and added them.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Even if we do like half of the proposals, we'll still be in good shape.
Yeah. And we put times. The agenda has times, and everything has links, and we did pretty good. Joyce got most of it started. Me and I finished it up. And just one question. Joyce asked me this yesterday, and I don't know the answer. So technically, me, Joyce, and Jorge, we're going to get together and do a co-chair session to do the agenda and prep the session. Is that co-chair time or just regular work time?
Well, the work is supposed to happen at the 8th moon session. That's where the co-chairs meet and they.
Yeah, well, you kind of took over that meeting. We never got to do it, so.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we're gonna be fine. I mean, we didn't even used to have co-chair sessions for 8 months, so then the full moons we're fine. It just saves a little extra time. It means the meetings are a little more organized. But no, you don't get additional co-chair time outside.
It's just regular hours. Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's fine. Because we weren't sure, so we wanted to check. Joyce asked me, and I said, I really don't know. This is the first time I'm co-chair. I'm not sure about this, so I figured I'd check with you.
Yeah.
All right.
And I mean, I have no problem with people, inputting whatever bonuses that they want to, and then we can address it. But I mean, I can think of at least 5 things that the co-chairs could be doing that are more important than doing the full moon, because anyone could be tasked to do the full moon agenda. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like the co-chairs are responsible for making sure things are getting done, not doing it themselves. So in that context, I can think of things that are more important.
I have spoken to the Fulcrum team about, and they are going to, at least for now, till the time change, they're going to prepare the midweek check-in the night before the next co-chair session. So that way it'll be ready for us to verify and go through and not have to do. All right. So that's been addressed already with Abdul and Zilla, and they're going to take care of it. All right.
Yeah.
All right. and
Cool.
you know, we'll get it together.
Anyways, I think overall everything is going great. We're going the right direction. Everybody's getting more involved, and like, you know, I think the changes that we're making on the budget, on, you know, refining people's roles and the new positions, I think it's all going the right direction.
And now we just have to get some more money into the organization.
Yeah. Which I'm also making a lot of progress on Canopy. Canopy has been moving forward. You know, we're still not making money, but we're getting closer, and things are, you know, we're definitely not losing more money, which is excellent, right?
Yeah.
So at least we're getting more stabilized every day with all of our finances. There's still a long ways to go, but you know, basically from 10 to midnight every night is the 2 hours I get to work on it, because I have no other time to work on it, you know?
Right.
So I think we are good to check out, right?
Yes, we are. Asif, would you like to check out?
Yeah, guys, thank you for the session. It was a really, you know, we have come up with, you know, positive things. I'm not sure that I'll be able to make for the next session, but I really appreciate if Jay can spare 2 to 3 minutes and show me how to, you know, respond on outsourcing, and then I'm good to go. Thank you, guys. Check.
Oh, we never got to that. I'm sorry, Asif. Is there a doc, Jay, that shows how to get the responses from? Is it in the recruitment doc, how to get the responses from? What are you looking for? Which ones?
Outsourcely, yeah. I mean, we have docs. There should be training videos, like the whole 9 yards. There's always this.
Recruitment doc, Asif.
No, actually, you know, actually there are, you know, there are a couple of, you know, persons, okay, which I have to respond, right? Now I just want to look how to respond those particular persons. Just it's a matter of.
Do you have access? Do you have access to Outsourcely?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So on the recruitment doc, there is a template response to all of the workers, and to fill out the form, and I can show you that. Super simple. Okay.
Yeah, please. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Are you done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jorge, would you like to check out?
Sure. I'm thankful for the session. I will digest new things to come in the organization. Check.
Miguel?
Well, I think we are talking very important stuff, and we are getting more organized as we have in the agenda. Thank you very much for your words, Stefan and Jay. I'm bringing a little bit more of good stuff into the organization, and that's all. Thank you very much. I sorry if I got a question. I can do it right now or
real
later.
quick.
Yeah,
real
fine.
quick. Go ahead.
Of course.
What means that I get a 0? I put a 0 today. What is that?
That just means that you didn't want to give a number. That's all it means.
Yeah,
But what happened later? Nothing.
Nothing. It has no effect.
So the way that our official decision making goes is from 0 to 9, and a 5 is abstain, a 9, a 7 to 9 is yes, and 1 to 3 is no. A 0 is basically saying that you are purposely stepping out and purposely not voting, right? And what you did today is you said you did not want to give a number, and so technically speaking, that would be considered a 0.
Okay, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. Yeah, no one's required to give a number, of course. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. No one's ever required to do much of anything. It's all voluntary.
Remember you said that next time.
I know, seriously. It's like, we love Steve doing all the tax, all the stuff, but he doesn't technically have to do the taxes. I mean, if he didn't want to do it, we would just figure it out and deal another way to get it all done, Anyways, move on. Steve.
No, you.
Me. Okay. Okay, I thought this was a good session. I feel like, even though we got off track on our agenda and we got really heated and it got really intense and, you know, passionate about everything.
But it didn't get negative.
It didn't get negative, and we actually got really deep into some very, very important things that come 3 months, 6 months, or longer from now are more important than anything else, right? Like how we actually treat each other and what we actually do as we build this network. So I think that it was really good session, and I think that even though we only covered like, you know, a couple topics, that there was at least 10 interlaced topics in there that we solved. We solved 10 stones with one, not just 2. Check.
Okay, my turn. I have serious concerns that some people, they do not, even though I don't necessarily agree with the proposal about the bonuses, I have serious concerns that people are misunderstanding the reasoning and what it actually means that they think that they're not going to get bonuses. And I find it upsetting that I think there are certain people, and there's only 4 of us here, so I'm saying this nicely, but everybody knows what I'm talking about, feel that they're going to change the way they do things because they're concerned about the bonus situation. Number one, we don't even know what's going to pass yet. Because a lot of people probably aren't going to be happy with it. I just hope that everybody remembers that, nobody's trying to take money out of your pockets. You'll get bonuses. You're just going to have to wait a little longer. And that, the work that we do in Andromeda, and we'll forget everywhere else, in Andromeda and maybe Cobalt, because a lot of us work in both. We do a lot of good work, and especially in Andromeda, we do a lot of work with 3 or 4 people. And sometimes we do as much or not more as the global team, the old world team, that does it with a lot more people. So, so you pat yourselves on the back, myself included. And yes, we could be better. I've got a little better at, this is my self-evaluation. I've got a little better at, delegating work and not bogging myself down and not taking all the responsibilities on my shoulders like Jake Carter does and other people tend to. But remember that you are appreciated by the organization and by myself and your other coworkers. And bonuses will still come. It just might take an extra couple of weeks. That's all. Check.
I want to add, can I add something real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
All right, so I think people get a little tied up on the bonuses because they are a little easier to understand. But they're in the bigger context of things, they're minor, itty-bitty small potatoes. So let me try to explain this. So everyone has their normal pay. Your normal pay is your base rate. You don't even necessarily need to have a base rate, and you can still work and get bonus money and get the actual work that's getting done if you complete the work, right? But the problem is that we're not completing the work, right? That's the biggest problem. So the direction that we're going in right now is that people are going to people have already been getting fired. People are going to continue to have their hours cut, and they're getting all of their, more people are getting fired, right? Or changing positions or whatever. That's huge. That's out of control, crazy, huge, right? Whether or not people get a little bonus here and there is nothing compared to, people getting fired. Why are we firing people? Why are we cutting all these hours? Because the work is not getting done. So what is this proposal coming from in terms of the bonus? The idea is that if people complete steps of the output, it's great to get that and do that work, and it's good to get the bonus hours. But if we don't follow through and take it all the way to the finish line, that work is for nothing. The output that people do doesn't actually finish the race. It's like giving out gold medals, because you completed a lap and you didn't finish the race because you got distracted because you wanted to drink some lemonade. It's insane. So as a business, we have to make structures and organize in a way to ensure that the work is getting completed, because the bonuses are chump change. It's nothing. When we complete the work and we get the work done for the clients and for ourselves, we're going to make tons of money. And then instead of worrying about bonuses, we can hire people and pay people their full rates, which is 10 million times more important. And The big money is the back pay. The goal is that once we stabilize, well, that's another level, right? So there's more money in the back pay than there is in the bonuses and the normal pay combined, right? Let me write this down. It's really important to understand this. There is more money in the back pay than in the bonuses and normal pay combined, okay? Most of the work that's getting done, including by the old world and all of us here in the Americas, is back pay. It is not normal pay or bonuses. And I think it's wonderful that, you know, people like, you know, Miguel or Jorge and others who basically only work the hours or a little bit more than you're scheduled and budgeted, right? But a lot of us here are working 40, 50, 60, 80-hour weeks, and the vast majority of the work that we're putting in is not paid. Period. It's all back pay.
God's honest truth.
You know, and so it's wonderful that your guys' commitment to the organization is here, but your commitment is not even close to Lucy and Abdul and other people who are literally putting in twice as much work and 3 times as much pay than they're getting paid in normal pay or bonuses. Okay? So in that context, the only way people are going to get their back pay, is if we complete the work. And so if we give people bonuses for not completing the work, we're never, ever going to reach the back pay, and we're never going to actually complete the work for the clients. And then in the context of the bigger picture that Steve was just saying about the actual equity, shares, tokens, like this is like, you know, 10 times more funds and value than the normal pay, bonuses, back pay, altogether. Okay, yeah, so the equity, shares, and tokens is what we're really going for. That's the goal. That's the real goal.
Me and Jay have a goal of $1 million salary in 4 years, right, Jay?
Yeah, every 4 years, it's $1 million for the, you know, the minimum $500,000 for the entire global rate. So the lowest global rate we have in equity, shares, and tokens is $500,000. It's $500,000 for 4 years. So it's only 125 per year. But the idea is that, you know, if we don't actually do the work and move things forward, none of that matters.
Because it'll never happen.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, Jay, if I may.
Yeah, of course.
One of the things that I was very happy is to not rising my rate, but rising my amount of hours inside FQN. You know, and then what happened with the finances of FQN? Unfortunately, from 12.5 hours a week, I cut off to 10 with the same salary. So I need to fill the whole of that. Of course.
Okay, but for me,
give me one moment. If FQN requires more of my time, I got availability right now. Because if I can only work 10 hours, I need to pay bills, and I also need to pay in my daily basis. So, for example, I get my promotion to 12 hours, 12.5 hours, and I get into some monthly payments, and then you say no, you cannot work 12.5 hours. You will get to 10. So I miss those $100, which is 3 times as it is in the United States, and I get stressed. So now I need to find something else and some other job, you know.
Listen,
if you guys tell me, hey, you are welcome to get more time because you are deliverable and you are doing stuff. Hey, I'm in, you know.
All right, can I respond, Steve, or do you want to go first? Can I respond? Okay, I'm gonna respond. So all right, so first of all, I'm not in your main buddy team, right? This is a question for the main buddy team, but you can bring it up here too. I would add to our priority list, you know, personnel support, work hours, and your name or anyone else, right? Main buddy team proposals, etc. If I was in your main buddy team, I wouldn't approve your proposal because it doesn't make sense in what you're trying to achieve. So it's like what doesn't make sense the most is to raise your hours and lower your rate. that in general just doesn't make sense, right? And then also my understanding is that you raised your overall budget from $400 to $500, right? That we were paying you an increase of an additional $100 a month. What you mean, it's perfectly fine or whatever. But the point is that, you know, in my understanding, we haven't cut your monthly rate. Okay. So in the
yeah, I know, but my rate, I because of the financial situation of FQ, and I say, okay, I want to work more hours.
I know, but that's my point. I think you don't understand that working more hours has nothing to do with your pay rate. Anyone can work as many hours as they want to. You can work 50, 60 hours a week if you want. There's no one stopping you from working. Do you understand that? I've said this before to you.
It would just be for back pay. That's all.
It goes to back pay, and I cannot ask for back pay.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. If you don't want to do back pay, you're not required to work extra hours. We do not have a requirement that people have to want or do back pay in any way whatsoever. Okay, but the point is that if you don't choose to work extra hours, that's fine, right? So here's another example. You can say that you want to work 10 hours a month, right? What'd you say you're currently at? 15?
I am 10 hours per week.
Okay, 10 hours per week, and you're currently at 10 hours per week.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say you did 5 hours per week at $400 a month, and then you worked 10 hours per week. What would happen to your pay? Would your pay change?
Yeah, of course.
No, it wouldn't. You would still get paid the same $400 a month. You would just end up with additional back pay.
But how come if I don't work the hours?
No, you do work the hours. You said it's 5 hours a week for $400 would be equal to the same amount of money as 10 hours a week for $400 if you continue to do the back pay. Do you understand?
All right, guys, me and Jay, at least I know we have to be back here in an hour. We need to wrap this up. We can bring it up again.
Okay. Anyways, I put it on our priority list. We should cover it, but it's like you need to understand that your pay rate doesn't have to change, and you can lower your hours, and you can still work more hours. Like the idea that your budgeted hours is the maximum number of hours you can work is just your personal perception. It's not reality. It's not the reality of how the organization works.
Yeah, but okay. I know you guys need to go, so
yeah.
Let's.
But I mean, basically, what you're saying is that if you say you're going to work 5 hours a week for $400 a month, that you would only work 5 hours instead of 10. That's what you're saying.
I'm working more. You can go to my work report. Last week I was 16. The previous week was 16, and the last one was 11.
Maybe I just don't understand what your concern is, your issue is. Maybe I just don't get it. So let's talk about it next week.
Yeah, no, I'm working more. You can go to my
okay. Well,
report. You will see it.
Yeah, but I just don't understand what your original issue was, because you were saying that you couldn't do that. And now you're saying that you are doing it, and I'm just confused. So it's like we just have to be clear.
You guys need to rest and also get some stuff done. So
okay. So here, let me just help Asif real quick, okay, and then we're done. All right.
Okay.
All right. So Asif, if we just go into the recruitment.
I'm already here. Okay.
So you go into the that'll be investor relations, and then recruitment. The recruitment commission, recruitment and outreach commission.
Okay.
And we have recruitment for recruiter delegates and ambassador doc, right?
Okay.
And this has all the links to the intake form and the editable version, and then it has all the results, so which should have like the budget and everything in it. And then right here, the first thing is the recruiter message response for Outsourcely and Upwork. You know, hi, and then you add their name. We do not have time to follow up with each person. Do the intake form. Let's make sure this is the correct intake form. Yeah. You also must do 5 forms of contact information. If you'd like to learn more about it, you can, and you can add your name at the end or not. And this is the message that we send to everybody on Outsourcely and Upwork.
Okay, Okay, but Jay, if you see my screen, okay, if you see my screen, now there are two sections. One is my job applicants, one is chat in inbox. I will go to my job applicant section.
No, you want to do the chat. The chat inbox is the priority.
Chat inbox is the priority. I got it now. Okay. No
Yeah.
worries.
So everybody who does a job application usually also, and you go to the bottom. You always start at the bottom, right? Because you don't want to miss anybody. So if you start at the top, you're going to start missing people. And if you already clicked on someone's chat and you didn't finish it, then you're going to miss them. So if you clicked on the first person's chat and then you didn't do it, you should do that first. Did you click on their chat? All right. Anyway, so you just copy and paste the message. You know, hi, we don't have time to follow up. Please fill out the intake form and the contact list, and then you just send it to them. Okay. Each person.
Sure. I got it now.
Yeah, and then that's just ensure. And usually I put their name. I say hi, and I add their name to personalize it a little bit. And then you basically want to just make sure that, you know, they are able to fill out the form. That's it, pretty much it. If they don't fill out the form, then that's their bad. They can let us know if there's a problem with it. We can double check it for them, everything. But if they start asking questions, you know, you can let me know about it. But typically we just let them know that, you know, we will contact them if and only if they can fit in the budget. You know, if they fit in the budget, we'll contact them. Otherwise, you know, we'll just see what we can do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it now. Thank you, Jay. It will be or consider done. Simple.
Great. Yeah. Let's get that done, and then we can give them a couple days to fill out the form, and then we can finalize the budget for the recruitment group, and then we're good to go. But we can already start approving the first couple right away. Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
all right. See you guys later. Bye.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, bye.